Chapter 275, Froki, Kind Sacred Trial, Lukther. Extra Chapter. Every, plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra Chapter, 8,000 votes. How's it going, Froki? Huh. I said, how is it going? Why are you yelling? So you can hear me? Huh. Aorg. Heh. I followed Froki around the woods. You did what I told you to do? He asked. Yes, I hunted all the beasts you listed, climbed the 7,000 steps, got recognized by a beast as a companion and hauled together to the moon. Actually, wee me out. Hauling is for dog heathens. I listed the tasks Froki gave me around 3 years ago. You did? Huh? And found yourself a cat? Foo-foo. You won't even get to imagine how cute and fluffy she is. I bragged. Sigh. Look at your size and how idiot you are. How did you become this large for kind's sake? That's quite the tale. Care to listen? Do tell. Well, after I left Rift Inn, I started telling my story to old Froki. He walked in the forest collecting mushrooms and checking the traps he made. There was quite the hunt, and it seemed that we are feasting. An hour passed, and we reached his shack in the woods. Froki has a bit of an influence on me. He is the one who inspired me to pursue my faith in cats. This guy has the same case as he dedicated his life for his beliefs too. He is a zealot of Kine. He hates the imperial pantheon that regards Kine as Kinnereth and mocks them 24/7. He also hates life in the cities and lives entirely in the woods. A hunter, a warrior, a survivalist. This man taught me much stuff ever since Nurina introduced me to him. She saved his life once when she encountered a witch coven that he was fighting, and she admired his way of life and the ability to fight and harness nature to his advantage. She then threw me to him and told him to teach me. It wasn't easy to learn from an elderly person like him, but I managed. Wolfer had a hard time with him, though. So, after all I have taught you, you didn't only get to be a city rat, but you are building a city of your own. Looks like I'll shoot you after all. Tisk, put that away before you hurt yourself, old man. Swoosh swoosh. Mommy. Fuck. The old man held the bow in reverse and shot while giving me his back. Last chance. Say something I want to hear. Yes. I forced the Empire's people to accept the temple of Kine I built in Winterhold. They didn't like it, but I forced it anyway. Oh, you did? That's good news. He finally put the bow away. The lady, how is she doing? He asked about Nurina. Teaching and bossing people around in Winterhold. So you all moved there. What of your friend? Froki asked about Wolfer. He's with me, I said. He narrowed his eyes and looked around. There is no one here. You think I am that old boy? You are that old. Yes, I am old, but I can still hear the woods. No one is there other than you and me. There are 3 orc hunters a mile away to the north. I was speechless. He can tell that there are 3 orc hunters a mile away, but can't hear me. Who am I supposed to complain to now? This old man is a druid, but not as good as Alina. He still is crafty and way more experienced as hunter and survivalist. Even though Wolfer is in the cube, and there is no way Froki can tell, I still wanted to taste that thin victory over him. I pointed the ring in my hand to the middle of the shake and pulled Wolfer out of the cube. Wolfer, who appeared out of the blue and kept looking around left and right, saw Froki and froze. So, it's magic. You became good, Froki said and looked at Wolf. Well, old Froki, hey. Wolfer was still traumatized from last time. Tisk. Froki clicked his tongue and looked away towards the rabbits he was dismantling. So, what bring you boys here? Wolf and I looked at each other, then I spoke. We are here to visit. And Forky seemed to read our minds. There are some things we want to ask you about. The rest came out of the ring after they learned we reached our destination. Unlike how he met us, Froki was super nice to the girls. He even taught Joel how to shoot arrows to the back. I begged him to teach me that for years, but he just, damn it. I can already tell the reason. Joel's ability and talent as a shooter far surpassed me. I am not a bad archer, but I am not a genius. The strange thing happened when Froki saw Alina. He addressed her as kind Sybil right away. It seemed that he is a member of the Guardians of the Grove, and he met Alina before when she was recognized as the favored daughter of Kine. So, are any of you interested in the sacred trials of Kine? Froki asked. I have already done it, but I didn't get my token, I said. It was part of the initiation to my title, so I am good, Alina said. Wolfer, Jorna, and Joel haven't experienced the trials before. You will get your token. You three, are you interested? Froki asked. I always wanted to do it, Jorna said. Yes, let's do it. Wolf, who failed once in the past, decided to tag along anyway. What are these trials about? Jelinar asked. Hunting trials in the name of Kine to prove your ability as survivalist against some spirit beast. Nothing dangerous about them, I said. And the reward? A blessed token of Kine. A powerful artifact that grants good health and power. It will also peacify beasts if you have gone through the pilgrimage on the throat of the world, which both of us did. That is why I decided to delay it until I am done with the pilgrimage. Oh, I see. I have performed the pilgrimage, so I get the powerful token, right? Correct? Fine, I am in. Unlike the game, the Trials of Kine doesn't require the one to wander around Skyrim to hunt some spiritual beasts. They are all around the woods of the Rift. Froki led the three to a bonfire where he started the ritual and sent them to the hunt. Alina and I remained and conversed with Froki about this and that. My reason for coming here was to get my token and to ask Froki about some strategies to defend Winterhold. The man can go alone around the woods as if he is king here, and not a single creature will dare to cross him. Even the infamous bears and trolls of the Rift are threatened by him. He told me how to cover the south and west of Winterhold, and suggested some sort of trees that can grow in the frozen wastelands of Winterhold. I always wanted to have some small grove there, and make Alina bring some spriggans and inhabit it for it to become a small woodland one day, so I took Froki's advice for it. The next day, the three people on Kine's sacred trial came back with the beast hunt. The spirit wolf, skeever, and mudcrab were the first three beasts. The second three were the sabercat, the mammoth, and the bear, which are way too difficult and would take a few days. Thankfully, my friends are way stronger than me when I took that trial for the first time, and they will manage. The spirit mammoth is a pain in the ass though. Thankfully, it can't do much damage as a spirit. As we waited for them, Alina and I meditated in the woods for days while taking care of baby Griffin. Oh, and we finally picked him a name. After a long struggle between the Pharaonic, Draconic, and Norse names, we named it Lochther, which was a mix of everything we had. Luck in the dragon language means sky, and Thursday means overlord. It also had the same rhyme as Luxor, which is an ancient Egyptian city. Anyway, we will call him Lux, or Luck for short. One more thing. The damn bird ate all my beef liver. I almost cried, but it seemed that it grew stronger, so all for the good. The trials of Kine took another week until our funny three managed to hunt their beasts and took the last assignment to hunt a powerful spirit troll. Our stay around Froki's place got prolonged a little, and a week passed. Luck grew up very fast from a helpless chick to cheeky fledgling, but Alina's power as Kine's favored worked on him, and he was so very obedient with her. And he hated me so much. He also had a very good relationship with Nefertiti, and they hit it off really well. She would always act like a big sister and watch over him. He also was very obedient with her. I only believe in cats, so I don't really mind a stupid griffin or whatever. Still, the white feather that started to grow on him was super fluffy. A few days later, Wolf, Jorna, and Joel returned from the hunt and handed the proof to Froki. He started his bonfire and made the ritual once again. In the end, we were handed 4 tokens. Greater Kine's token protects from beasts, grants stamina, soothes the wild animals, communes with nature, calms the weather, fortifies the Thursdayum. It is like Kine's premium package all in one. Even though I am blessed by Kine, this is as good as the blessing too. The first 3 abilities it grants are for the common tokens, and the last 3 are for the greater tokens. I heard that each druid needs a greater token to start the practice. Not that I am interested or anything. I just find it much better than the amulet of Talos I always wear. The last thing we needed from Froki was for Alina to learn who to start a sacred trial and to know some secrets. Froki happily provided Alina with what he knows and was very happy to hear that we intend to make it a common trial in the Temple of Kine. I think I can't repay this man enough, but I at least know how to prevent a disaster from falling on his son who lives at Helgen. We bid the old man farewell and hit the road once again. Next stop, Whiterun. Chapter 276, Back to Whiterun. This sponsored chapter comes to you by Joshua Burns. Also, a big thanks to Jesper Jonassen and Repos Puinkai for donating. 14th of last seed, August, 4E197. Each time I see Whiterun, my head goes fully back to the game. This place is the most iconic city in Skyrim, and the one most of the players stayed in. It is beautiful, colorful, and an exemplary city. Right now we are in summer, and the White River is the best place in the whole Skyrim for anyone to dip themselves in. It is not like the frozen Trinity Winterhold, Windhelm, and Dawnstar, the stinky Rift Inn, the annoying Solitude, and the bugs-infested Falkreath. Of course, the Karth River in Markarth is good choice if you are oblivious about the Forsworn. But Whiterun, it has its flavor. After 2 years, I came back to Whiterun with some plans in mind as usual, and I also wanted to meet a lot of people. Thankfully, everyone gets to go to the Bannered Mare Inn at some point of their day, and there where we went. We heard that you vexed the Empire and Eastern Skyrim a few times. Bad rumors are going around about you. Really? And? Word is, you are womanizer, bloodthirsty, hedonist, scammer, and filthy rich. I tried to refute, but thinking of each one carefully. Guilty as charged. Ha ha ha. Cheers. Cheers. It has been a long time, my friend. You really made quite the name for yourself out there. John Battleborn, who I haven't seen in a long time, spoke to me as he was sitting across the table. You haven't changed much. Neither Solitude nor the Bard's College could change you at all. Way I see it, I changed a lot already. Solitude is all about money, and one must earn his keep. So no more sitting around, eh? You are right, my friend. I have been out there calling people milk drinkers for a long time, but I wasn't doing much better myself. I now have some thoughts of changing my ways. He said, Good. Come to Winterhold and I will sink you with work head to toe. Winterhold? Nay, I'd rather keep it to myself and start here. Listen to me. I need people I can trust to do even the slightest jobs in Winterhold. You know what happened a few months ago, right? What happened? The Bard's College sent some people to snoop around me in Winterhold. Word is, Thane Erikr. Battleborn continued my words for me. So you're aware? Who's not? Most of the bad rumors about you are because of him. You really got under his skin from that time. You mean the tournament? He really pissed me off that day. I remembered when Erikr made action on us and got Battleborn and Wulfur locked up for a night. Yeah, it was bad. So, he hired the Bard's College at last? Battleborn seemed to have anticipated it. What can you tell me about them? I was waiting to ask you so bad about them. I said, Well, that's quite the tale if you ask me. Viarmo, the High Elf headmaster of the Bard's College, is one slimy elf. He uses his connection and students to infiltrate the halls of the rich and Jarls. Most people drop their guard around the bards, so we know a lot of what happens behind the closed doors. Viarmo has no master and would work with any side if he wished for it. He spies of the High King, on the Empire, on Jarl Ulfric, and even on the Thalmor. Whoever wants to know a thing just have to pay Viarmo. Oh, an information agency. How amusing. So, you and Sviti, any of you got recruited? Are you kidding? Work such a shameful job. A bard should die 1,000 times before snooping on their patrons. Battleborn seemed truly disgusted. Come on, man. That would make quite the career for yourself being a secret agent. Spare me of your fantasies, Dare, he said as he drank. Haha, whatever. I wouldn't have missed such an opportunity, though. Well, even if we wanted, Sviti and I would never fit their standards. Yeah, you are too proud and she is too shy. Exactly. So, who did they send after you? A chick called Lizette? That Breton lass. She is quite the asset. I know. She was taken into custody and under watch. I intend to have a talk with Viarmo about her. He will deny everything. I won't give him a headache. I will only make a trade. Do whatever you like, but don't make an enemy out of him, or he will sell all that he knows about you to your enemies with a cheap price. I know. I am already careful. I dismissed his worries and changed the topic. How are the preparations on your part? Oh, that father went into an argument with me when I came back. There seems to be something between us and the Greymanes. This soon? You know what is it? He asked. Ulfric Stormcloak is sending his word around. Seems like the Greymanes are favoring his side while the Battleborns are on the Empire's side. His side? The Empire's side? What are you talking about? Are they going to start a war? Battleborn's face turned serious and angry. I was seriously not sure of how to answer him, but I had to say it anyway. It seems that Ulfric is aiming big this time. He asked me to join his cause and stand against the imperial machine that follows the will of the enemies of men. Gods, this is madness? You are telling me that Nords are pointing steel at each other? It would seem so. The good thing about Whiterun is that the Greymanes and the Battleborns have had each other's back for generations, and such a fight will only make them cut ties and scorn at each other. No actual harm will happen between the two except Alfina and I. Exactly. If you remember the vision of the old soothsayer 2 years ago, it was the vision that I paid the soothsayer to tell John Battleborn. Without it, his relationship with Alfina will get harmed badly. By this, are we too late? He asked. No, I still have a few strings I will pull for you. You just have to do your part and request Alfina's hand from Ireland Greymane on time. Fine, thanks. Come on, man. It's the least I can do. John Battleborn and I drank together after that. I was having my own agenda of making the thing between him and Alfina Greymane work. The two largest families in Whiterun will have a feud at this rate, and the trade of the South will worsen. Whiterun is the largest hub, and the two families are strong traders. It will harm the North greatly if they got into a feud. Also, this will make the situation about the Civil War easier to handle. Not only Winterhold that is neutral, but Whiterun too. The Jarl doesn't want the war, and having the two big families on good terms will increase the probability of having peace in the hold. Anyway, it wasn't long since I met John Battleborn. He was in a good mood, but I had to pull him back to reality and focus on the problem that might occur if he didn't marry Alfina Greymane as soon as possible. And of course, I introduced him to the rest of the gang. He didn't realize who Jull is as he was with us when we caught her after she tried to assassinate me in solitude, but her appearance has changed too much. I will tell him later, but let's not cause a scene here. The ones I was waiting for were Akira and Isolde. After asking around, I learned that Akira is now a mercenary for the trading caravans and Isolde is a broker and mediator of sorts. Even though I sent them letters and they replied, they didn't really accept my invitation to Winterhold, so I saw this as a good opportunity to invite them once again. As I said before, I need the people I can trust. I waited for Wulfr and Bjorna, who went to visit the Jorvasker of the Companions. Wulfr has a good relationship with the people there, and he seemed to have hit it off with Farkas, one of the rising stars among the Companions. I also want to talk to those people to patron them in Winterhold. The Companions have a thin existence in each hold, as they are the alternative of the Fighters Guild in Skyrim. Having them in Winterhold is good for both sides, as Winterhold is where the first Companions of Iskramor landed on Tamriel, and in Winterhold we have both the tombs of Iskramor and his son Ingol. I don't even mind becoming a companion myself if there is a need. The College of Winterhold and the Companions were all the only righteous factions the player can join in the game, and I see a lot of benefit in having both factions on my side. Wulfr will be the best candidate. I have to link the Companions and Winterhold. An hour passed and Wulfr finally arrived. He greeted Battleborn and joined us. So, where's my sister? She is not here yet? Nope, she's still with Alfina in Dragon's Reach, Battleborn replied. When we came here 3 hours ago and bumped into John Battleborn, we asked him about Sviti, and it seemed that she performed a few times in the Bannered Mare and became very popular enough for the Jarl of Whiterun, Balgruuf the Greater, to be her patron for today. Sigh, the little girl has grown, Wulfr said with complicated feelings. Yes, she really did. I had the same feeling too. Sviti is Wolf's sister and practically mine too. I killed Sibby Blackbriar mainly to avoid any trouble from arising around her in solitude. Be careful now. She likes to go by the name Linley Starsong. If you said her name in public, she may lash at you. Yeah, we know. Wolfer and I replied. We are aware of her insecurity about her old-fashioned name. She thinks that it will affect her future or something. We saw John Battleborn off as he had to wrap up the situation with his family and go request the hand of Alfina as soon as he can. I will support him too when the time is right. But now, the 5 of us had another thing to do. Let's go visit Isolde then, I said as I rallied everyone up. So, Isolde, I heard about her a few times. Alina asked. Yes, she and John were like the partners in every crime. Whenever they go into hiding and talk quietly about something, you can just know that there is a disaster about to befall. Wolfer said everything. I was really trying to hide that. Oh, seemed fun. We can ask her about all the things we need to have leverage on John, Julliner said. Nothing will make her happier, Wolfer said. I feel bad about this, but whatever. Isolde's house was not far from the inn, so the 5 of us arrived there soon. Wolf knocked on the door, and we waited. As the house was really small, we could hear and feel the movement inside. Some footsteps were moving around while hiding some stuff here and there. I am not sure what is going on, but I don't want to get involved with Isolde's madness. Finally, someone answered the door. Who's it? That was Isolde's voice. Hey, Isolde. It's Wolfer and John, Wolf replied. It seemed that we were unexpected. I'll open right away. Another round of running around happened inside the house, and well, all felt it. It looks like we won't be staying for long as it seemed we are a bother in such a small place. Finally, the door opened. 2 girls popped out their heads from the door. A Nord girl with short hair and a beautiful face alongside a Khajiit girl with snow-white fur and sharp eyes. After all that time, Isolde and Akira. Chapter 277, Starsong. Extra Chapter. Every, plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra Chapter, 8,000 votes. We all gathered in Isolde's house. A thane of an entire hold, a businessman and an adventurer. I always knew you have a talent for everything. Mama is proud. Isolde said with a sly smile. I shook my head while smiling wryly. After inviting us in, Akira and Isolde kept staring at me for a long time, probably because of the unexpected increase in my size. That's why I had to tell Isolde everything first. And what about you? How are you faring with life? I asked. I am good. I do a lot of business and life is really good. So, you managed to become a trader? Wolfer asked. No, it is still hard. The business in Whiterun is really crowded. Then why didn't you take my offer and come to Winterhold? We are desperate for good traders, I said. Business prefers a good base that can reach all the places it needs. Whiterun is the most suitable place for my business. If you don't mind me asking, what business do you do? Alina asked. I trade with the Khajiit caravans. They don't go inside the cities, so I buy from them and sell inside. Of course, I face a lot of pressure from the general goods stores around the town, but I manage in the end. Isolde replied. That doesn't sound like a solid business, Isolde. It will be best for you to take John's offer. Wolfer said. In Winterhold? Where it is freezing cold even in the middle of summer. Come on, Wolf, you know I like an easy life. I don't think Isolde will agree anyway. She must have her reasons to run her business that way. What I know is that after the death of her parents, there was no much inheritance for her due debts, and now she is trying to regain all what her parents had on her own. What about you, Akira? I asked. This one likes to live here. The place is warm enough, and the business is good. Akira replied in her iconic third-person speech style. What do you do? Wolfer asked. She works as caravan guard, and the only job she takes is the Whiterun, Riften trade route. Isolde replied instead. Wolfer and I made understanding faces. It seems that Akira is after her parents' killer. You know I offered you help in that matter. You don't have to do it alone. I spoke to her. It's okay. This one can do it. She said, "If you ever need help, come to Winterhold." Winterhold, you say? The Pale itself is too cold for Kajiat. What do you think of a place called Winterhold would do for Akara? She said. Fair point. Exactly. It is so cold here in Skyrim. Yet this one sees Nordsen walking around the snow in sandals. Madness. We couldn't help but laugh at Akara's remark. It is hard for any other race to adapt like how Nords do. Even the fur of the Kajiat doesn't help. Anyway, the good thing about today was that we could still get along after all that time. We spent some time at Isolde's, then we decided to return to the inn. Our stay in Whiterun was quiet, and we didn't want to attract anyone's attention, so we moved quietly. As we were leaving, Isolde asked to have a word with me on the side. There is that thing I want your help with. Okay, I am glad to help. Do you want money or anything? No, keep your money. What I need is a strange request. Shoot, if you could bring me a mammoth tusk, I would really appreciate it, she said. A mammoth tusk? Yes, it is a weird thing to ask for, but I really need one. Some of my trading partners are really asking for one and the other traders are high on alert. It would be good if you could secure me one soon. It was really an unusual request. Usually, Isolde would ask for anything from me without being shy or feeling weird. Also, the request itself, it happened in the game too. Isolde asks the player for a mammoth tusk, and that's it. No real reason behind it. The thing is, the game events are 3 to 4 years from now. Is she going to look for a single mammoth tusk for that time? These things are not that rare or expensive. I thought for a second, but decided not to ponder for long. Something is strange, but I am not that curious or going to meddle in Isolde's business, even though she is acting suspiciously. Fine. Here is your tusk. I clapped my hand and a mammoth tusk appeared out of thin air, or rather from the cube. Whoa, you were carrying one. How? Do I really need to say it? Yes, you are the magic boy, hee. Thanks, but this one is too big to fit. Isolde said as she was about to take it from me, but I took it away. Too big to fit? Hey, what are you planning to do with it? I felt bad about it. Isolde paused for a second, and she glared at me. It seems that our thoughts met. Hey, what did you think of just now? You're the one who said is too big. Are you even listening to yourself? She said as she took the mammoth tusk from me. She then looked at me and spoke. Don't even think of any funny ideas. You have 2 beautiful ladies following you now and I know a lot of your dark history. Humph, I don't hide anything from them, so don't even think of threatening me with that. I grinned at her. Oh really? Should I go and ask them about the Horker tusk shipment? As she said so, the grin on my face disappeared. Yes, I thought so. She smiled as she went away. Damn you, Isolde. This girl knows too much. The Horker tusk shipment. I thought that secret died in Riffin's Ratway. This was a scandal. I couldn't help but to shake off the bad ideas from my head and sigh. As I returned to my group, and we gathered back in the inn, across the fire pit in the Bannered Mare, there was a girl singing an unusual song, and all the patrons gathered around her. Wulfr and I smiled ear to ear. That's Sviti. The little girl we once knew has grown taller than we thought. It seemed the family genes of her and Wulfr have finally caught up to her. She became brighter and more beautiful than before. She was wearing an expensive blue dress and held her lute. Everything quietened down and she sang. Oh, misty eye of the mountain below, keep careful watch of my brother's souls. And should the sky be filled with fire and smoke, keep watching over Durin's sons. I see fire, Ed Sheeran. Oh goodness. I am so glad I taught her that song. She literally made the time freeze. Until she finished the song, the world didn't dare to interrupt her. That was epic. Even Joel, who has high standards in music, couldn't utter anything but that. Thanks. Sviti was happy with the group's reaction. Each one introduced themselves to Sviti after we got the hugs, of course. Even Nefertiti found Sviti more approachable and decided to take a nap on her leg. I am really happy that you boys came today. I heard a lot about you in Solitude and even here in Whiterun. Really? There is a lot of false news, though. I said as I remembered what John Battleborn told me today. Yeah, haha. Something about you scoundrels acting heroic, or whatever. Sviti said with an innocent laugh. Yep, she took it completely the wrong way. Even Wolf made a disheartened face. So, I need details. How did you manage to scam a Jarl, John? Yeah, that's a long story, I said as I patted Wolfer, who seemed to be breaking into tears. Tell us about yourself first. These boys told us many stories about you. Alina managed to divert the subject. Oh, all right. I studied for more than 2 years away from my brothers. Thanks to the money you guys kept sending me, I didn't have to work and graduated earlier than most. I also learned horsemanship and trained on the magic books John kept sending. However, my real joy was in the messages Wolfer and John would send every month. Yeah, we should have included that we are not scamming people, though. Wolfer was still depressed. Hee hee hee. Come on, brother. You don't think I don't know, do you? Not everything out there is just bad rumors, you know? There are people whose lives were saved thanks to that business of yours. You don't like hurting people, and John likes to act evil while doing good things. Just two big scary boys with fluffy hearts. As she said so, Wolf and I almost cried. How can such an angel exist? Did you guys realize that she just played you around? No, we didn't. But we are still too happy, right? Sviti is that kind of girl who looks innocent and pure whatever she does. She is a person who no one can see as bad. So, did you face any hard time at Solitude? Alina asked. Not at all. If Battleborn can't solve it, then mentioning my brothers' names would make everything go smooth. I am afraid I am getting used to it, Sviti said with a smile. Even the way she said it can't make anyone feel mad at her. And how was the trip back to Whiterun? Nothing unusual. I came back, met Isolde and Akira, sang in the inn a few times, and was invited in Dragon's Reach, so Alfina Greymane came with me. And here we are. I didn't even spend more than 2 weeks here already. Things are good then. Yes, pretty much. Oh, once I heard that John and Wolf are now engaged, I always knew that I shouldn't come from Solitude empty-handed. What do you think? I brought some cyrodiilic silk and elven velvet from Solitude. Come with me. Sviti took the girls and left Wolf and me behind. It was their first time meeting, even though we wrote to her a lot about them, so they have to bond for a while. Nefertiti went into the cube, and Left decided to continue her nap in there. Wolf and I sighed and looked at each other. You noticed, right? I said. Yeah, she is hiding something. Have any clue? Wolf said. Nope. According to Battleborn, the people in Dragon's Reach and here in the inn treated her really well, especially when they knew her relation to us. What else then? I don't want to think about things too much, but I think it has something to do with Isolde. Sviti would normally stay at Isolde's instead of the inn. Also, Isolde was acting weird. I told him what happened, and we became silent for a while. So, that mammoth tusk? Did you just give it to her? I can trace back if you want. I left a mark on it. I was a bit curious what would it be used for. Seriously, man? Why are you looking at me like that? Girls use horker tusks, not mammoth tusks. You seem to be very knowledgeable about this stuff. I own a bathhouse for Debella's sake. Fine. Don't bring the gods in this. Can you trace the tusk then? Wolf asked. Yeah, pretty easy. I traced it, but I noticed something. What? Why are you silent? Something is not right. The tusk is outside Whiterun? At this hour? We were clearly less than an hour away from midnight. Wolf and I nodded to each other, went out of the inn right away. Chapter 278. Isolde's Tough Lesson. Extra Chapter. Every, plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 5,000 votes. Extra Chapter. 8,000 votes. After John and his crew left Isolde's house, she ran back in with the large mammoth tusk in her hands. Hey, look what John gave me. I asked him for a mammoth tusk, and he took out one just like that. She showed the task to her roommate, Akira. He was carrying a mammoth tusk on him the whole time? Akira questioned. No, he just clapped his hands and a mammoth tusk appeared. Is that even possible? Don't ask me. He must have learned new magic from Headmistress Nerina. You know how they can go on and on about magic. That doesn't matter now. We can now finish our business earlier than we thought. Yes, let's move out. You take the tusk and get out of town without anyone seeing you. I will go out just casually and meet you at the windmill. Okay. The two girls walked out of her small house normally and walked across the Plains District's main road, bypassing the market and the residential area until she reached the city gate. They left the city heading towards the stables and to the farms in the south. Their target was a place called Chilfuro Farm. Once they arrived, Akira headed towards the windmill and Isolde towards the manor in the middle of the farm. A few minutes later, Isolde returned to Akira with a Redguard woman with her. Girls, you shouldn't have come at this hour. Sorry, Ahlum. We managed to secure a mammoth tusk just a while ago. We need to finish our work. Fine. Keep it quiet. That orc Ulag has brought a patch of the sap, so let's work quietly. Akira, you will find him outside the stables, and Isolde, come help me with the cauldron. The three started moving fast around the windmill, each to her job. They seemed to be very wary of their surroundings and didn't want to alert any being. A few minutes later, an orc man joined them, almost started shouting. What? You haven't even started on the patch? Do you want to get us killed? He glared at the women. Hey, tone it down, orc. We will finish before dawn, so don't bother us. Isolde's tone was sharp. The orc was wary only from Akira, who he considered dangerous. He snorted and waited outside the mill. Fine, let's finish quickly. Isolde, you know the recipe. Akira, you keep the orc in check. I will go and make sure that my husband doesn't interrupt us. Ahlum said as she ran back to her house. Wolfer and John teleported outside the town, not far from the farm Akira and Isolde were in. John used clairvoyance and predicted where the mammoth tusk would be. The two of them may be large boys, but they sneaked around the place like snakes. Not even the guards or the farmhounds could detect them. John spotted a windmill and spotted movements in it. The Magica mark on the mammoth tusk was also giving a signal from there. He turned to Wolfer and made a series of hand gestures. A fist, then he pointed left and right, then a circle, then two, then pointing around. What? Wolfer tilted his head. I am telling you the plan. Oh, I see. Wolfer liked the idea, then thought of making his own plan. He made a sneaking signal, then a walking man, then a halt, then looking around, then going in fast. John stared at Wolfer with no expressions. Really? Then how about this? John moved his arms and shoulders like a wave once and twice. This is better. Wolfer started making animal shapes with his hands. Seriously, how old are you? Watch and learn. John stood up and started moving his arms in sync left and right, front and back. Oh, this is awesome. What is that dance? It is the floss dance, like it? Yeah, hey, get down. Ops. Sorry. The duo became serious once again and started taking the way through the wheat to the windmill. Of course, they didn't need anything like a plan. Once they arrived, they saw Akira arguing with an orc quietly, and he left the windmill, taking the direction of the town. Hey, take this. John passed a face cover and a cloak to Wolfer to not be recognized. The two of them sneaked over to the windmill and started spying on what was going on inside. I told you it is too big to fit in. TSK, leave it to me. I can handle big ones. Wolfer and John tilted their head, thinking of something unpleasant. That's strange. Why do it here? Wolfer asked quietly. What are you thinking about, you pervert? Perv, hey, you're the one who brought that up. Don't push the blame on me. Let's just take a peek. Why no, they should be in an appropriate position. Wolfer tried to stop John misunderstanding his intentions, but the latter has already cast Eye of Magica and saw through the windmill's wall. He didn't think that anything would be serious, but what he saw inside made him frown. He checked carefully and his complexions became unsightly. Shit, he cursed and stood up, walking towards the windmill. Wolfer noticed the unnatural change in John's mood and hurried up to hold him back and pulled him away from whatever he was going to do. Hey, snap out of it. What did you see? Wolfer asked. John, who resisted for a bit, loosened up and sighed, trying to calm himself. It is bad, Wolfer. Inside the windmill, Akira was trying to use a saw to cut the mammoth tusk in half, but it proved to be harder than what she imagined. The idea behind the mammoth tusk was its use as a catalyst that will increase the rate of the chemical reaction that creates the skooma. Isolde stumbled upon the secret of making the skooma in Riften and started to do that job with Akira ever since they both settled in Whiterun. They would create their own skooma with the help of a Hullum who had a background with alchemy, and a smuggler orc called Ulag would provide them with a unique sleep-inducing substance called sleeping tree sap alongside the moon sugar and the lavender. Ever since they started dealing, Isolde's skooma was a high-quality variant of the regular skooma that can rival the private skooma clubs like the Redwater skooma. Even though they were having a hard time brewing skooma lately, their planning was flawless as they always brewed it outside the town and had many locations to do their work in. However, they couldn't be careful enough as their childhood friend Sviti almost found out about them, and they had to be rude to her so that she doesn't snoop around them anymore. Sviti was always the obedient child, and if John found out about it, he would actually turn scary. They know very well how much he hates skooma and its dealers. At this time, Akira was trying to saw the mammoth tusk so it can fit inside the cauldron, but it was too tough. Hey, can we just use it that way? It would take a few hours to. Isolde. Akira talked to Isolde, who was behind her, only to find that she is not there anymore. She looked around only to feel a faint presence behind her. She was about to turn around, but something hit her head and she fainted. Sigh. This is really bad. Wolfer, who appeared from the shadow, looked down at Akira, who just passed out, and carried her on his shoulder. He exited the windmill and looked up at its top to find John standing there while using greed as a rope to hold Isolde upside down. His face was covered, and he changed his voice to a hoarse one. Who do you sell your drugs to? He asked with an angry voice. Wah. Please. I don't know. I never knew. I swear to God. Isolde was freaked out. Swear to me. Wah. He let Isolde fall to the ground and stopped her before she hits it. Wah. Greed, that was holding her legs, pulled her back up again. He held her head and pulled her closer while she was still hanged upside down. I don't know, they don't tell me. Some orc guy called Ulag. Other than that, he distributes it on his own. The Khajiit caravans also buy from me and sell me moon sugar. Please, let me down. You guards can't kill unarmed people. Do I look like a guard? He said so as he let Isolde fall down again. Wah. Before she hits the ground, he made greed stop her and put her on the ground unharmed. Isolde lied on the ground without moving. Wolfer ran towards her and found her passed out and foaming from her mouth. It seemed that John gave her a trauma this time. Man, that was a bit too much, he said as he looked at John, who was levitating down from the windmill. What are you talking about? Someone like Isolde can only learn by fear. You know her too, John said. Wolfer looked at John, waiting for more explanation. And I really wanted to try those Batman lines. Grow up, John. Right back to you. John cussed back, but he became silent and started thinking. Listen, I will send you and Isolde's home now. That orc dealer they sell to must be around. I'll wait for him. Fine, be careful, Wolfer said before being teleported into Whiterun by John. John looked up the windmill and sent greed as a hook to climb it. He sat on top of the windmill waiting for Ulag to come. It's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. Good line. Chapter 279, Bubble Butt. This is an extra sponsored by Edge. The argument between Ulag and Akira didn't end well. Ulag the orc was infuriated that the girls who brew for him were behind schedule. He would normally threaten Isolde, but that Khajiit girl is not someone he can deal with on his own. He at least needs some help. Lucky for him, he has his own bodyguards too. Ulag is a bandit after all, but his band never had it easy and chose to stick close to Whiterun and operate in skooma instead of fighting. When the Khajiit girl Akira threatened to hurt him if he doesn't back off, he thought of bringing his band over and returning to teach Akira a lesson. It didn't take long until he managed to gather the 10 men he has and went back to the Chilfuro farm. Once he reached the windmill, He and his men stormed in from and blocked the entrance. "Where are they?" Ulag questioned as he found no one in the windmill. Only the cauldron and the mix of the skooma spilled all over the ground. His head almost went in blank and was about to cause a ruckus, but one of his men spoke. "Hey, where's Toriath?" "Huh, wasn't he behind you?" Another man replied. The men looked behind them, but that Toriath seemed to have vanished. "Hey, look, isn't that his boot?" One man pointed at a boot that was not far away from the windmill. The men started to feel that something was wrong. Ulag himself walked towards the boot and looked at it, but he found nothing strange. He looked back at his men and was about to assure them, but he froze. "Hey, where did Jirmot go?" he asked the men. The men looked to where the Argonian Jirmot was supposed to be, but he seems to have disappeared. Strange as it sounds, that Argonian followed Ulag directly and became at the back when Ulag turned to the boot. Gather around, form a circle." Ulag panicked and started ordering the men to go into formation. The pitiful appearance of the band that had barely any armor on and all their weapons were Iron made John, who was right above them, feel bad about wiping them. Ulag, who was in the middle of the circle formed by the remaining 8 men, noticed something and looked up. There, he saw a figure floating in air clad in black with a large sinister sword in hand. Ulag froze from terror, but he moved right away when he saw the figure land directly towards him. Ulag jumped from the middle of the circle and John landed in his place. As Ulag's men noticed what happened, John waved his Bloodskull sword, that was reinforced with greed, and mass murdered them in one 360-degree slash. The terrifying sight shocked the only survivor of the drug band, Ulag. The terror appeared on his Orcish face that somehow turned pale despite his green color and looked toward the other direction to run. Oblivion. What is that? It can't be. Ulag was in terror as he ran and ran towards the mountains in the south. He was so afraid that whatever that being that killed his people would be running after him. Ulag looked at the back and tried to see if that being was chasing him, but he found no one running towards him. He was about to feel relief, but he saw the being flying instead of running or walking. It spread 2 large wings in the sky and flew as if it was a being from Oblivion. Shit, it has to be them. It has to be those girls. They conjured something from Oblivion. That was the only explanation. But right now, the first thing on Ulag's head was to survive this disaster. The being that was chasing him flew left and right while making strange sounds. Sometimes he could see it, sometimes he could not, sometimes that being would fly in front of him. John used greed to make himself wings and put a more intimidating air. He was clearly toying with Ulag as he had nothing better to do. Even though Ulag knew he was being played, he was aiming for the forest way that leads to Riverwood. He can hide there for sure. Fear made Ulag go faster than he would ever run and successfully reached the White River. He then ran through the trees trying to find any place to hide. As he found a good spot to hide, the being suddenly appeared in front of him. Ulag screamed and started running again. He held some stones and started threw around at everything that moves. "Stop following me. I am not afraid of you. Leave me alone." The orc went into a state of berserk and his Orcish genes kicked in. He howled and threw stones everywhere. "Where are you?" Ulag screamed as loud as he could. Here, a hoarse voice came from behind him. Ulag turned around towards the source of his trouble, only to get his throat pitifully slit. John stood in front of the dying orc and shook his head. Other than his having fun mimicking Batman, John had strong hate towards drug dealers. If a drug dealer appeared in Winterhold, there would be a public execution no matter what time of day it is. It was a hate that John inherited from his past life. John searched the body of the orc in front of him, but found no clue that may link this orc to any major drug operation. He didn't give it too much thoughts in case ignite on the orc, torching him to ash. As John turned around and was about to walk back to Whiterun, he felt a change in the air around him. He moved his head to the back, dodging whatever came towards it, and with his hand caught another flying projectile. It was a well-aimed arrow. You can hide well, but your killing intent sucks. Can't you keep a cool head when killing? I advise you to pull back before you hurt yourself, amateur. John stared coldly at the spot where the arrows were shot. The shooter didn't respond to John and shot another series of arrows. 3 arrows came towards John in almost an instant in between them. John raised his brows to the shooting speed, but nothing would change in front of him. He waved his hand while casting telekinesis, and the arrows that were shot got reversed towards the shooter and flew even faster. Groan. One of the arrows seemed to have hit. Told you. John grinned at the fool assailant, who didn't heed his warning. He was about to step towards the assailant, but he stopped as he felt the change of energy around the assailant. A figure started to rise from the pushes that the arrows came from, and it started to grow larger and larger. As it fixed itself to a certain size and form, it roared to the sky. It was a werewolf. John narrowed his eyes. He saw a werewolf with timber fur and shiny green eyes. As the werewolf roared, it held the arrow that hit it and was stuck on its shoulder, then pulled it out. As it did so, the wound started healing at a rapid pace. Oh, interesting. John seemed surprised with the healing speed. He checked the werewolf closely and realized that it is more powerful than any werewolf he fought before. He also noticed one more thing. The energy around the werewolf was Inuit-based. In other words, the werewolf is a female. It didn't make difference anyway. Female werewolves were smaller in size than the hunky males but way faster. Want to play, little pup? I am a cat person, but I will spare some time to play. John taunted the werewolf casually, and the werewolf roared at John angry. Without even taking a breath, the werewolf moved towards John like a bolt of lightning, waving her right hand towards John. John only stepped back once and avoided the attack. He was smiling as he was really interested in the speed of the werewolf. She was far stronger than he thought. The werewolf didn't cease to attack and waved its claws left and right towards John, who would only use the minimum required distance to dodge. The werewolf was infuriated and launched stronger attacks. She roared and used both of her hands to try and grab the annoying mage, only to find her face punched. The punch was so heavy that she almost felt her neck break and her teeth fall. She flew backward and bumped into a tree. John's fist attack, enforced with the enchantment of Ozadal's fists, was not something anyone can just withstand. Hey, I am not 7 feet tall for show. Don't drop your guard close to me, or you'll lose teeth. John lectured the werewolf, but the latter didn't take his goodwill and attacked faster and more reckless than before. Your funeral. John put the sword away and decided to take this seriously. He dodged the werewolf's attack by bending forward and counterattacked with a scorpion kick to her head. He continued the move and rolled forward with his shoulders on the ground and unleashed a cobra kick that sent her to the air. He didn't stop and continued the roll, standing on his feet, then jumping up to the werewolf, who was still mid-air, bypassing her altitude and dropping on her with an axe kick after a mid-air roll. She landed on her face, and he made a superhero landing. Never gets old. Even though she took 3 artistic moves from John, the werewolf's body started healing, and she stood while staggering. Her body didn't hurt that much, but her mentality and pride were screaming. Again? John taunted her again, and it worked without him even needing to taunt. She walked slowly and unleashed her beast aura. She was furious and didn't want to let John get away with beating her like that. Her beast aura seemed to be having a life to itself. It reinforced her body and put her on a new level of strength. The smile on John's face turned from mockery to sadistic. His tyrant aura exploded around, making the existence around him submit. If the werewolf didn't unleash her aura first, John's would have broken her willpower. That doesn't mean she is not affected. In her eyes, John was a predator rather than a prey, and she is fighting not for making a comeback at him, but for surviving. Her fighting style was only based on attacks, and she never bothered to defend. John was going like that too, but he does that because he is completely positive that all his hits will land without fail without his opponent even managing to touch him. The werewolf began the new round with short and fast attacks, not daring to charge at him or misstep. She realized that it is best for her fighting style to focus on dodges rather than charging. Even stepping back like how John did was not shameful as she thought, but actually, it had a sense of grace to it. Still, She needed speed, and the only way to catch up to John is to charge at him. She was baited a few times in this round and met up with John's punches and kicks that were relentless. His aura was ravaging hers and caused a fair amount of damage that her natural healing as a werewolf didn't resist anymore. As the final showdown came up, John started to make big dodges, and the werewolf made big charges. She thought that John was trying to make a big move from afar, so she had to keep closing on him and not give him the chance. John's aim was to give her that illusion, and he successfully did. He would jump nimbly from a tree to tree without making any sound or noise, while her attacks would obliterate the trees and trunks he lands on. If someone was seeing this fight, they would be shocked senseless. The power of both John and Werewolf have transcended the level of humans and entered the realm of the superhuman. This is not strange in the case of werewolves, as the point of them becoming werewolves is to be superior physically, but John, he was a complete mystery, but the werewolf girl was so engrossed in the fight and didn't notice that she was fighting a human at all. In the end, the bait John made was complete, and he reached the tree he wanted to jump from. When the werewolf girl followed him to where he wanted, he jumped towards the nearby river, and she blindly did too. She noticed the river, but she was more focused on John, so she just followed, but she understood what John was doing a bit too late. At the final jump, John jumped slowly and rolled midair enough for him to be facing her when she reaches him. As her move was broken, she found herself in John's range of attack before, and a punch was landing on her head. She took a direct hit. Her brain circuits blacked out for a second, and the next thing she knows was crashing in the river. John landed gracefully on the river surface with featherweight spell. He kept looking at the werewolf, who was completely exhausted and got washed out on the bank of the river. She was crawling on her arms and legs, completely tired, and started to transform back to human as she laid on her front. John quietly walked towards her with the intent of confirming the identity of the girl he guessed, but he soon came to a halt when he saw something. The girl's butt. When werewolves transform to beasts, their clothes normally gets in the way, so they either remove it or don't get bothered and let it get torn, and when they return humans, they surely are naked. John knew that just like anyone, but still, the sight of the girl's butt made the S inside him open its eyes widely. The butt was well-rounded with the perfect amount of muscle and fat. She looked jiggly but yet firm. It was something akin to perfectness. It was a perfect bubble butt. John's hand moved on its own and felt the perfect shape of the bubble butt of that girl, whoever her identity may be. With one idea in his mind, John identified this but as a pinnacle-grade bubble butt. The shape, the texture, the softness, the jiggliness. It was amazing. It was worthy. John immediately knew. He raised his hand up and opened his palm. The girl noticed what was about to befall as she looked at John and opened her eyes wide. John's hand was faster than any reaction she can make. And asterisk smack. Star. Perfect. Chapter 280, Hunting the Huntress. Extra Chapter. Every, plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter, 5,000 votes. Extra Chapter, 8,000 votes. Bannered Marin. What happened in that night changed the perspective of John towards butts forever. He always focused more on boobs and looks but never cared too much about butts, until that night. He woke up in the inn between Alina and Jelena and started thinking. He looked at his hand and remembered the feeling of spanking that jiggly, bubbly butt. He tried to remember the feeling but touching Alina's and Jelena's butts, but they didn't feel like that girl. It didn't mean that Alina or Joel had inferior butts, but they were not meant for spanking. Alina's body is graceful and her beauty is her most lethal weapon. She always wears large dresses and wide robes, but her body under all that is a wonder on its own, especially her soft, big boobs, which are John's favorite. She was not much shorter than John and can be considered really tall among girls, which made her John's perfect match. Joel was not any less in charm, even though she was different from Alina. Her different skin color, the athletic muscles that made the effort she puts in training turn into beauty, her choice of clothing, which is always tight and fit, the flexibility of her body, even the difference of color in her eyes made them very attractive, yet her but was strong and firm, not fit for spanking. The girl from last night, however, made John think for long. He wasn't sure about her identity because her face was covered with her hair after getting out of the river, but he would recognize her body when he sees it again for sure. Not much shorter than Alina and not less athletic than Joel, but was squishy and lovable. It had great power. Amidst his thinking, Alina and Joel woke up. "Why are you touching our butts?" Alina asked. I wonder." John's reply made her look up to him weirdly. She normally sleeps with her body mostly leaning on him, so they touch all night long, but John's way of touching her seemed different than her usual treatment. "He is discovering more about the S inside him," Joel said. She too was sleeping the same way on his other side, but she was used to the S side of John more than Alina. After last night, he surely feels different. Alina and Joel remembered what happened last night after John returned last night. The three of them went into a wild sexual engagement, but John was too hard to contain just by the two of them and ended up being put down before John was even satisfied. He calmed himself normally, but it seemed that he was still thinking of something. "Okay, let's wake up for now. We have important business to take care of with Isolde and Akira. I am not letting them off no matter what." John shook the silly thoughts in his head and walked out of the bed with the girls after him. Jorvaskr Mead Hall. In Jorvaskr, the mead hall of the companions and their headquarters, Ela woke up in her quarters. She looked up to the ceiling and her head was completely blank. She tried to put away all the negative thoughts and walked out of her bed. She was the rising star of the companions even though she had her own style in doing things. The relation of her family to the companion was deep, and it was not strange for her to climb up the ranks on the fast pace she's on. A year ago, she joined the Circle, a secret group of companions who carry the blood of the wolf and honor the stag Prince Herson. She was looking forward to this day ever since she was a child. Her training in the woods when she was young, the fights she has been through around the arenas of Skyrim, the trials she took to become part of the Circle, and the thrill of being a werewolf who hunt in the wilds with superhuman power and speed. All this and that made Ela feel proud and invincible. She doesn't fear anything or anyone. After she became a werewolf, every day was a hunting day. She adored the gift of the beast inside her and wanted nothing more than hunting after hunting. It was her game and her style. Each night she was free in, she would go out and challenge the night with its terror. The night in the forests is the time when all the beasts rage through the woods, and when the wolf packs come out to hunt. It is also the time when necromancer and vampires roam the land, and she wanted nothing more than that. She would just hunt them all. One day when some of her brothers and sister came back after a fight with a werewolf hunting hidden clan who call themselves the Silverhand, Ela's rage and bloodthirst were all aimed towards those hunters, and she would go every night to look for them with another high-ranking companion called Skjor. Even though the harbinger of the companions told them to not go after blood, they would go behind his back anyway. But last night, Ela the huntress met Killer in the woods during her normal hunting routine. That Killer seemed to be an evil mage who hunt down an orc and kept toying with him left and right. It was hateful how a predator would toy with his prey like that. How bored can a person be to torture his prey to death? She stalked them and saw the mage kill the orc and incinerate his body. The mage was unusually large and had a red hair similar to hers, but just like all mages, there was no way he would rival her arrows. But reality proved different. His magic was advanced and unfathomable. She had no brain for magic, and to top it all, her arrows were turned at her. She decided that it would be wise to approach that mage and kill him in melee combat. It was a wise decision in normal cases, but what she was up against was an irregular. She was toyed with in melee combat and in long-ranged combat. Even the prey she was after started mentoring her about combat. The humiliation was unbearable. She was bested in both long-range and close-quarter combat. Not having an idea what to do, Ela followed her instincts and fought like a beast, but in the end, she was defeated. Crawling out of the river after getting reduced to her human form, Ela's consciousness was hanging with a thread. She wasn't sure if she was going to get killed or will be spared, but it wasn't up to her anyway, and there is no way in oblivion she would beg for her life. The man who defeated her came behind her, and she didn't think she would survive this, but to her wonder, death never came. She looked back and saw the man who was looking at her body while narrowing his eyes. It wasn't the look of a pervert, but the look of a scholar who was seeking enlightenment. Still, something was very wrong. The man was looking at her, and making a nod of understanding. He then raised his hand and he spanked her round butt. Ela, who was always a proud wolf, was getting spanked on her, but in the middle of nowhere by a man who just defeated her. Her head refused to come up with the explanation that she was going to get violated by a pervert, but it did not come. The man spanked her another time, and his eyes lit up. She, on the other hand, made a pitiful face and her eyes turned moisty. The man didn't stop there. He held her waist and raised it, making her body rest on her knees while her buttock was raised up, and another spank came. She looked forward while trying not to scream. It wasn't that painful, but she was too helpless to retaliate. A spank after a spank, and the man would only stop to observe and change the way he spanks her. He would stop to compliment the reaction of her butt. What kind of pervert would go that far to test her butt's reaction to his spanks? Ela was completely oblivious to the potential of her, but that John saw. She was still in a sour mood. After the man was done with spanking her, but in various techniques, he complimented her as a talented fighter, covered her body with a cloak, and healed her with magic. She couldn't even muster the power to look up to him, and could only grit on her teeth. As these memories returned to Ela, her head almost blanked in anger from the shame she was placed in. She can't even tell her shield brothers and sisters. Tell them what? A man she tried to kill defeated her and spanked her, but as a trophy. She can barely keep her dignity to herself. She had many negative thoughts about what happened, so she decided to drink them away. She climbed the stairs from the basement to the mead hall where other companions gather all day. She looked for a place to sit down, but as soon as she did, a tingling feeling came from her, and caused her to remember what happened all over again. She didn't want to be noticed by her friends, so she stood up and headed out of Jorvaskr. She didn't know where to go, so she just walked towards the inn. The Bannered Mare was the city's biggest inn, but it would be empty at this time of day. Everyone is working during the day after all. Ela went in and took a few bottles of mead, then sat alone in a dark corner, the tingling in her, but was not that bad away from the eyes of people. She opened the first bottle and started drinking her bad mood out. Still, fate was not merciful to her. The inn that was supposed to be empty was indeed empty, but there were people who booked some rooms there. She wouldn't normally be bothered, but one of them who was coming down from upstairs was him. The man who humiliated her and spanked her but many times was right in front of her, looking at her in the eye. His appearance was clearer than yesterday, and he looked very familiar. John, too, realized that the girl who was hiding in the dark corner was the girl he spanked yesterday. He also took a good look at her face and recognized her. "I see. So it was you," he said as he walked to her. She was shocked the moment she saw him and froze without moving. Her heartbeats raced, and she couldn't move a muscle in front of him. His dominating presence was shackling her very soul. Her thoughts were also paralyzed by just hearing his voice. John was a bit surprised to see that Ela was the girl with the magical but from last night. He guessed the identity, but it was still surprising. He knew her as the fierce NPC huntress who was very iconic in the game, but she was still a timid girl in front of him after what he did to her. He could only blame the inner S that woke up last night and made him do such a shameless act. Still, that S was waking up again right now. As soon as John arrived at her, he touched her cheek with his hand and pulled her chin up with a finger. He then went on her lips with his thumb and felt their smoothness. Ela was not resisting him and seemed to have been traumatized by yesterday. He sighed to himself and put his hand away. He found her very lovable and wanted her for himself. "I'll be seeing you tonight," he said as he turned around and went away. As he walked towards the inn's entrance, a man came in and talked to him. "John, they woke up?" John nodded only in response and followed the man. Ela, who was gazing at John, looked at him with an empty mind, but she realized something. The person who talked to the man called John is Wulfur, the friend of Farkas who was visiting Jorvaskr the other day. That Wulfur is the right-hand man of the famous and infamous Thane of Winterhold, John Dare, the man who came out of nowhere 2 years ago and shook the whole Skyrim in the High King tournament. She realized why was the man so familiar now. It was him all along. John Dare. Chapter 281, Solving Problems. The 5,000 votes extra. Also, in the name of Her Majesty Nefertiti I, we thank the patron who wanted to keep his name hidden and also at Joseph Townsend. Isolda's house. When the two girls were captured last night by Wulfur and John, Wulfur took them back to Isolda's house and made sure to keep an eye on them. An hour passed, and John came to check on them. He left Nefertiti to keep an eye on the girls and headed to the inn with Wulfur. The girls woke up at night and found themselves back at their home. It was a terrifying scene to wake up and see each other as the two of them remember clearly that they were attacked while brewing their skooma. The two of them looked at the window and saw the daylight. The warm daylight didn't bring them any warmth at all. Instead, they broke into cold sweat. "Why are we here?" Akira asked. "I don't know. Was it Ulag? Did he betray us?" Akira doesn't think so. "Someone sneaked on me and knocked me down. What about you?" I remember now. Someone hanged me from the mill and Mara's mercy. They made me say everything." As Isolde remembered what happened and told Akira, the latter shot out of the bed and looked at Isolde with terror. "Then, the guards will come for us. The Jarl. They will execute us." The two girls were in a state of terror. It has been 2 years since they started their business and established themselves well. They were always on alert and never kept a single clue around them. Nothing can be related to them in any way. Now that Isolde spilled the beans, no one knew what type of character was that man who interrogated her. Was he a competitor or one of the Jarl's thanes? "Let's calm down first. We need a plan," Akira said as she started thinking. We can leave. Let's pack our things and return to Rift Inn." Isolde said. "Are you serious? Whoever caught you brought us here? They know who we are and are able to go past the guards. This one thinks we are playing in the palm of that person already." Akira said. "Damn it. What to do then?" Aye, right. John. He and the others are in town. John can help us," Isolde said. Akira became silent for a while and closed her eyes. "This one is not sure about that. Do you think Sviti told John anything?" "No. We had to be rude to her so she doesn't find out what we are up to. If she already did then, I am not sure anymore." Isolde held her head and sat on the ground about to break into tears. Akira sat beside Isolde and grabbed her shoulders. "It's okay. Akira thinks we should better go to them. John said he has influence, right? If we told him that we are in some sort of trouble and we need to leave Whiterun, he will help us." "Yes, that's better. Let's come up with something fast." As the two of them started planning how to get out of this situation, a voice interrupted them. "Homan already knows." It was a voice of a young girl, but there was no such one in this house. The two girls looked around like mad and their eyes landed on a black cat. She was sitting on a shelf beside Akira's bed and looking down on them. Not sure if what they heard was right or hallucination, they kept staring at the cat waiting for it to talk again. Nefertiti calmly jumped down of the shelf to the bed and stretched her back and forelimbs the same way a normal cat would do and sat tall facing Akira and Isolde. "You two are in deep trouble, huh?" The two girls looked at her and exclaimed in a dumb voice. Akira had an enlightenment and spoke. "You are an Alphic?" "No," Nefertiti replied and transformed into her human form. A cute girl appeared instead of the cat and sat on the bed while swinging her legs like a cute child. On top of her head, there were 2 black cat ears that blended with her hair, and a tail appeared behind her. "You are an Omsrot?" Akira asked. "No." Nefertiti replied and transformed into her wercat form. The girls were terrified and hugged each other. "Are you a Suthe?" Akira asked. "No." Nefertiti replied and transformed into her beast form. Are you a Senche?" Akira asked. "Are you going to keep asking me out? I am obviously a cat." Nefertiti became annoyed and transformed back to her human form. Those types of Khajiit are shown in Discord's gallery. A cat? The girls were not willing to believe that. Even Akira, who is a Khajiit, couldn't wrap her head around the situation. "Yes, and John is my Homan. We never met before because I was taking a nap. Call me Nefertiti, and no, I won't accept your prayers, Nefertiti said as she acted high and godly. Wait, you know John? Isolde shot up. Told you. He is my homin. Whatever that is. Can you please help us? Isolde said. Akira thinks that she just said that he knew. What? Yes, Homan was the one who caught you two last night. The two girls turned silent. In my opinion, you should sit and wait. You are two bad people, and Homan will deal with you, Nefertiti said, and walked to Akira. Also, you do not fluff. Homan is disappointed in you. Even though she said that in a serious tone, it was hard to take the word fluff seriously. Still, the truth that John was the one who discovered them made them feel more afraid. John's stance towards skooma and drugs, in general, was clear. He hated them and whoever who deals with them. There were rumors that those who smuggled skooma in Winterhold were hanged in public, and those who were caught using skooma were put to a special prison to cure them. There wasn't much time for them to think as the door of the house was opened and John came in with Wulfur. So you woke up, Wulfur said, feeling uncomfortable? The girls didn't reply and looked at the ground instead. I suppose that both of you already know what I told Nefertiti to tell you, John said. Well, let's see. I made a mess out of the place yesterday. I killed your orc dealer and the men that came with him to backstab you with. I also tipped the guards that some skooma gang fight was going on yesterday at that farm. The farm owner and his wife were dealt with. I sent some of my men to make sure that they don't say anything I don't want them to say about you too. Everything was taken care of. As John said so, Isolde and Akira looked at each other happily. John, I don't know what to say. Akira is very thankful. The two of them fell into the illusion of happiness only to see John glaring at them. Did I say that you would go unpunished? To his words, the two of them shivered and looked at the ground again. You two are coming with me even if you don't like it. Nerina will hear of what you did and I will decide your punishment, he said. The girls looked at him and wanted to retaliate, but they were afraid of him. I know what you want to say. I am merely your friend and I have no right to do so to you. But guess what? My second option is for the Jarl to hear about your little business on that farm. I have 1,000 ways to deliver a word to him, he said. John's words were cold, and not the friendly ones they used to hear from him, but their options were limited in this situation. Unless they follow John, they will be having a dark fate from now on. The two girls nodded without raising their heads. Okay, I'll handle the rest. Joel will take care of you, John said as he pointed the Haven cube ring at them and took them in the cube's space. Inside the space, Jelinar would be waiting for them to put the girls into shape and keep them there until they go home. This was not the kind of reunion I hoped for, Wulfur said. None hoped for this, but they had done a mistake and this is the best course of action. Joel will handle them. What will happen to them when we get to Winterhold? Not sure. I will have to tell Nerina first and I am sure she will leave them to me after giving him a straight 10 hours of scolding. Fucking hell. Wulfur shivered when he remembered Nerina's scolding. Yeah, she will make them feel too bad about their sorry selves to the point that they may commit suicide. If they survived it, what will you do? Wulfur asked. I am going to enlist them in the boot camp. The Dare Troopers boot camp. Yeah, Isolde will not last 2 days, but Akira has a future as a fighter. After the first week, I will move Isolde to management if she wanted. She has a knack for business after all. Wulfur nodded. He and John closed Isolde's house and made sure to lock the door and send the key to Isolde. They then headed to the town that started getting lively in the morning. So, what scheme are we performing today? Wulfur asked. Not much of scheme. We just have to make sure that John Battleborn gets married to Alfina Greymane. Oh. I am curious, how will you do that? Hee. Simple. Let's go to Clan Battleborn Villa and introduce ourselves. We are carrying a large number of gifts, so we will sway the money-loving Battleborns to the benefits of befriending us. By doing so, the opinion of John Battleborn will rise, and they will use him as a link to us. Wulfur continued. I love it when you read my mind. So you will raise his value in his own family? Very sly. What about the Greymanes? Alina and Bjorna will visit Alfina with Sviti. They also will carry gifts, and we will join them later with John Battleborn. Do the same thing with the Greymanes in regards to Alfina. I like it. If Alina was here, she would be so happy seeing you doing good things with Slimeanes. Wolfer said. Yeah, she won't shut up about it. John and Wolfer walked together the path to Clan Battleborn's home. Little did they know that things won't be as simple as they have planned. Chapter 282, Shadow Agents. Extra Chapter. Every, plus $10, Patron or PayPal. Extra Chapter. 8,000 votes. In Whiterun, there are two large clans known as the Greymanes and the Battleborns. In the game, both clans lived in the Wind District and owned the largest houses in the city. They boast about their history and fame like all Nords and have some kind of feud. In reality, things are a bit different. The feud hasn't started yet, but it started to show signs after Ulfric's messenger spreading the word of resisting the Empire's laws and all. Instead of the feud, there is what one can call a rivalry. The Battleborns own a large farm business on the White River, which is not something to look down on in this part of the world. Owning farms make people very rich very fast, and that's why I started the reclamation project to the roadside lands south to Winterhold. The Greymanes own a high-quality yet small-scale blacksmithing business as Irland Greymane is the best in Skyrim and has the honor to forge in the famous Skyforge. The other major difference from the game was that the families were much larger. Just like the Firemans and the Moonblades, the Greymanes and the Battleborns do have a lot of people and more houses around their houses, more relatives that share the same last name and all else. With the current friendship and rivalry between the two clans, it is possible to make the marriage of Alfina and John become reality. Announcing my identity in front of the Battleborn house sure brought up a stir, and soon the news of me being here will reach the Jarl, but I was on a hurry. I stated the reason for my visit as coming to see John Battleborn, and we were led directly to the clan's largest building. Not only did I see John, but the other senior members of the clan too, including Alfred Battleborn, the patriarch of the clan, and his son-in-law Idolaf. Showing up my gifts, which are expensive, sure made the Battleborns happy. They are an ancient clan, and all but they sure love money as much as Imperials do. I also tried to avoid talking with the senior members unless it was business and focused on John Battleborn. This will surely prove that the Dare Dragon Company can be linked to them by John. Not long after we opened the matter regarding John and Alfina, and the air got electrified all of a sudden. It seems that the political views of the two families have already taken form and started clashing, but I am sure that Ulfric hasn't brought up anything regarding an armed conflict so far, but he heads of the clans are surely expecting one. Still, the best thing John Battleborn could take from his father was an unenthusiastic acceptance regarding his wish to marry the daughter of Irland Greymane. We couldn't stay long and moved to the Greymanes with John Battleborn with us. The reason we had to do this fast was to not give anyone the chance of going back on their words. Clan Greymane was a bit different than Battleborn. Irland Greymane didn't come out to see us at the beginning, which made Wolfer's heart almost break from sadness, and the one who met us were Vigner Greymane, Irland's brother, and the one who oversees the public relations of the Greymanes, as well as Alfina's brothers of Volstein and Thorold. The atmosphere was a bit intense at first, but I took care of, breaking the ice at first and made a good trade deal by luck. I knew that the Greymanes were expecting John Battleborn to be asking for Alfina's hand, but he had to have some merit he can show off with in front of them. Luckily, John Battleborn has a lot of those. He worked himself lately in Jorvaskr and was accepted as a companion. He won a tournament with me and Wolfer. He is a full-fledged warrior bard, and he works for me now. Yep. I told him that he can take an important job and gave him a good position to manage the company's outpost in Whiterun. Having an outpost in Whiterun meant that we can sell to the whole Skyrim, as it is the hold that shares borders with all the other holds except Hafingar and Winterhold, which still doesn't pose a problem. After a long while of talking, Irland Greymane joined us and I barely managed to shut Wolfer up so that John can talk to Irland. It took a while, and we had to endure the glares of all the Greymane senior members for an hour before the meeting came to a conclusion. John Battleborn received the initial approval of Irland, and we waited for the approval of Alfina herself and the rest of the family. Normally, Alfina's and Irland's words are what matters, but the Battleborns and the Dare Dragon Company were involved in this matter, so they Greymane had to start giving it some thoughts too. The marriage in this world is sure complicated, even though the relationships are loose. Marriage as a sacred bond also depends on benefit, wealth, and titles, which made things hard for a lot of people. I had a good feeling about the attitude of both the Greymanes and the Battleborns. They were not harboring any bad feeling towards each other, and as far as my knowledge goes, before Ulfric's words go around, the two clans were actually fixing their relationship and getting along. Even though if they started their feud, things won't go that bad. In the game, Thorold Greymane was captured by the Thalmor when he was fighting for Ulfric's Stormcloak. To get the news about him, one must know it through the Battleborns. From my point of view, it seemed that the Battleborns were concerned about Thorold Greymane and asked around for him, even though they feigned ignorance in public to not hurt the Greymanes with the fact that the Thalmor were involved. The Thalmor are relentless after all. Still, we all were walking on eggshells here, and we had to be swift. 3 days later, trouble started to happen. The members of Team Zero were attacked last night by an unknown force when they were doing business for me around the city. It was a night attack, and both sides were made of highly trained assassins and rangers. The fight alerted the Jarl and his men, but I hid my men fast in the cube and made sure that no trace linked back to me. When I questioned my men, it seemed that some people captured one of our own and interrogated him about me. The man was badly hurt and lost some finger in the process, but Alina worked on his wounds, and he soon recovered. A lot of eyes and ears started to pop around us since then. These were all sleeper agents, people that the other forces planted in Whiterun to gather information and spread words. I was a bit inexperienced on how to deal with that kind of operatives. In Rift Inn, there was only the Thieves' Guild, which I knew how they play, and in Winterhold, all the sleeper agents were weeded out periodically, but to an established town like Whiterun, there were too many sleeper agents. Even the College of Winterhold had some of those around, even though they don't do politics. Sleeper agents can sometimes serve more than one master as double agents or even triple agents. Anyway, my priority right now was to point out the loose ends and tie it up. In Whiterun, the Dare Dragon Company has an outpost, and I started from there. I picked up all the weird movements and talked to some of those eyes and ears to see where I can reach with them. Sadly, it was hard to pull them to my side. During the night, I sent Jellinar and Nefertiti to capture the ones that attacked my men. Jellinar always comes with results, and she captured a Breton man for me, and we pulled him in a dark alleyway for interrogation. The man proved to be hard to crack and tried to run on multiple occasions, but I soon found a better way to handle him. The skeleton key. I just had to lock a part of his awareness, and the truth was revealed as soon as I asked the next question. The Empire. This was the answer I received. The Empire was targeting me, or to be more specific, the Penitus Oculatus. They are the new Imperial Guards and the intelligence agency of the Empire, known to the public as the Penitus Oculatus and to the underground as the Spectres. The reason they came after me was not clear even to them, but they were tasked to keep an eye on the Empire's loyalists and secure a foothold in Whiterun. Any presence that may affect the Empire's influence in Whiterun was to be dealt with. As I appeared in the Battleborn clan and started bringing them closer to the Greymane clan, the Imperial operatives started to feel threatened that their supporters may switch sides by my actions, and so they started targeting me. Just by trying to prevent a feud in Whiterun to lessen the severity of the future civil war and help a friend marry the girl he loves, I attracted the attention of the largest shadow organization in the Empire. What a thrill! Chapter 283, Cold War. Okay, guys. There won't be extras for the time being. I am super busy and I want to stock on chapters until 31st of March. I will have some job interview on 12th of April, and I have to start studying on 1st of April, and I will start stocking from now so that you can read while I am away. All new patron extras will be saved and published when I return. Enjoy, Redheart. Things turned out to be more complicated than what I thought. The war seems to have already started. I was a fool not to think of it that way. The moment Ulfric's Stormcloak started calling out the Nords to oppose the Empire and the White Gold Concordat, a cold war broke out between the shadow organizations of both sides. The Empire had the Penitus Oculatus, while the Stormcloaks had some sort of intelligence-gathering teams that are well-trained. According to the intel I gathered, Whiterun is a massive headache to both sides. The day after we captured the Imperial spy, someone attempted to make a move against John Battleborn. We fought the group and captured one of them. They were Stormcloaks, and their aim was to kidnap John Battleborn to create any feud between the Greymanes and the Battleborns. Of course, the skeleton key was very handy in the interrogation. I found out that the Stormcloak Intelligence Organization calls itself a childish name, which is Stormfangs. I was having a massive headache from how active the Penitus Oculatus and the Stormfangs were. The two organizations already had an army of operatives around, and can as well go murder each other for all that I care about. I only had 9 dare agents from Team Zero, as well as myself, Nefertiti, and Jull. What gave us the edge was how easy we can hide using the Haven Cube, and I also started to recruit the best sleeper agents in town, the cats. I can use my bloodline ability, Titanborn, Beastmaster, to tame a number of cats to help me around, but Nefertiti was already handling it on her own much better than I ever could. She befriended most of the street cats, and they all whisper to her. Cats are smart after all, and know humans very well, even though they don't care most of the time. With all the street cats in Whiterun to support me, I knew where all the operatives hide and how many are on each team. I even detected a Morag Tong hideout in Whiterun. I was taken aback at first, but I didn't think too much about them anyway. The Morag Tong are an official and illegal guild of assassins that operate in Morrowind and are protected by the law and religion. You can put a hit on anyone there, and I mean anyone including the Emperor of Tamriel. Cool, right? After gathering the intel I needed, I started analyzing them and came up with some good theories. The Empire and the Stormcloaks are both expecting war, and each are stocking on supplies and weapons. The Greymanes practice blacksmithing, and besides Skyforge, they have other forges. The Battleborns, on the other hand, own a ridiculous amount of farmlands and can support and will make a difference depending on which side they pick. The Greymanes are showing sympathy towards the Stormcloak Rebellion, and the Battleborns are loyalists to the Empire. Of course, both sides of the conflict don't see a benefit in both families coming together, and here where my benefit comes in. I want to make business in Whiterun, and those are the best trading partners I can pick in the entire hold. My problem in trading with both the east and the west of Skyrim is that I have Maven Blackbriar defaming me in the east while Thane Erikr defaming me from the west. I control the north and the south and the sea with the help of the East Empire Company, so the south is my only land trading route left. Politics and economy are entwined around the marriage of a Nord boy and a Nord girl. It is vexing, but I am on the side of love. 2 days passed and I moved my base of operation to the Wind District, and to be specific, between the Battleborn and the Greymane clans. I set up a few magic spells to hide, and used the Haven Cube as the place to run everything through. My 9 agents were not familiar with the cube, so they always thought that I teleport them each time we hide. During those 2 days, the Penitus Oculatus and the Stormfangs never ceased to stop moving. They couldn't pinpoint our location, and the only thing they could do is to patrol the Wind District every night and fight amongst each other. I am safe to say that Jull and the 9 dare agents I brought with me became masters spying from all the work we had to do. Today was the final day for this suffering. The Battleborns and the Greymanes were having a meeting between their heads, and I had to smooth in everything to the max even though I was merely a guest of honor. I sent out Julliner and the 9 agents to keep an eye on everything out there. Nefertiti was keeping her cat gang monitor everyone around, and Alina was with me. Also, Isolde and Akira were in the Haven Cube serving Lord Lucther, the picky griffin. Alina's rule was important. If there was anyone that managed to bypass the people I left outside, Alina can take them down with a glare. John Battleborn and Alfina Greymane didn't hesitate to express their will, and the families agreed on the marriage. The problem now is the wedding. Both Alfina and John were 17, which is actually good as a wedding age in Skyrim. People marry at 16 in early cases. And as the families sealed the vows in the presence of a temple priest and were formally registered, my job finally came to an end. It It was a fucking nightmare, I said as I stretched my body on the bed in the inn. It is because of you. You overstressed us the past 5 days. Joel complained. The important thing is that Alfina and John Battleborn are getting married. This is a win situation for us, Alina said. I am just happy things went my way. The wedding will take a while, but you saw the patriarchs of both clans today. I think we can rely on them for a while. I even had to hear them talking about their farms and forges for hours until they finished bragging. Good for you. Is there anything else you need us to do? I have a sweet little boy who misses me every day, and I have to stay with him. Give him to me, Alina said. Yeah, take that unfilial bastard. I pointed the Haven ring at her and took out a creature from the space. It was the white-feathered, dog-sized, mind-numbing dumbass griffin. Lochther. Alina came closer and took the idiot bird. Lochther shrieked and jumped towards Alina, hugging her. He even cowered in her arms and let her carry him. What a hateful creature. I cussed in a low tone. Hey, watch it. He understands you. Alina glared at me. Yeah. Tell him to be quiet and sleep like normal baby birds do. Humph. Alina snorted and walked away with Lochther. If I knew griffins are this annoying, I would have never unsealed the egg. Anyway, my mood was ruined by that cheeky bird. I started to call it emergency rations lately, but Alina always looked at me as if I am some sort of a monster or something. Anyway, the annoying bird grew up fast and all its hair came out. It was a truly marvelous white feather that only Alina and Nefertiti had the privilege to touch. It became what is known as a fledgling griffin. Google fledgling griffin. The pics are so cool. Sigh. I am heading out. Can we invite Sviti? Joel asked. Yeah, have fun. I'll go talk with Wolfer. Wolf and Jorna are doing it tonight. She said to not let you go anywhere near him. She stopped me. It seemed that we won't be drinking then. I have to have fun on my own. I put on a cloak and walked out of the inn down the road with no aim in mind. Still, I was being followed. Sigh. Those idiots want another go again? I walked into an alleyway and stood there waiting for whoever following me to come up. The presence paused for a while, then kept watching me. A second later, it started climbing on a house, and it was actually fast. An assassin in the end? How disappointing. I waited for the assassin to arrive, and finally, it showed up. You should have attacked me when you had the chance. Oh. I realized that I was completely mistaken. The figure who appeared in front of me was someone I totally forgot about due to the stress in the past few days. Remember me, John Dare? Her tone was a bit angry. Ela, what's up? She seemed to be upset. I had to meet her 5 days ago, but the Penitus Oculatus and the Storm Fangs appeared out of nowhere and made me busy. Sorry for not seeing you the past few days. I was busy, right? Fighting off those people in black? Aha, so you noticed? Don't underestimate me. I can smell you from a mile away. Oh. My pride was hurt right away. I smelled myself, but I was clean. I meant your distinctive scent. Ah, I see. Because you are a werewolf. I was really dumb. Ela seemed to be annoyed by my misunderstanding and kept glaring at me. Follow me, she said. Where? To finish what we started. You want to fight me? Again? Follow me. She seemed headstrong about her demand. Not interested in beating you again, I said and walked the other direction. Ela turned around and glared at me. I advise you to do this the easy way. You will pay for the humiliation you inflicted on me with your limbs. If you don't follow me right now, Ela started threatening me. You'll do what? I found myself teleporting behind her in a second with my eyes giving off bloodlust. I hate threats. Ela seemed to have gone pale for a while, but she regained her composure. If you don't come, I will report to the Harbinger that you know our secret and the companions will hunt you down. She threatened. Oh ho ho. Really? Does that make me really a threat? I am a Firemane girl. My clan taught me about that thing you call circle and all. There is no way you can use such a silly bluff. So you're afraid then? I dare you to face me. My head stopped from functioning. The crazy girl used the D word. Sigh. Fine, lead the way. It is not going to end well for you, though. Chapter 284. She likes it rough, plus 18. So you were planning to humiliate who now? Speak? Asterisk spank. Star. Groan. Things went a bit fast this time. Not even having the chance to fight back, Ela was taught the overwhelming difference in power between her and John's. Unlike last time, John didn't fight barehanded and used his all. He even ended up undressing Ela with magic so that he can capture her right away. Ela was no shy as she even fought naked, but her opponent was a bit too tough to fight on her own and ended up being toyed with again. Right now, at the same spot on the White River where they fought yesterday, John has captured Ela all for himself. She had no way to run, so she thought that she will end up like last time. John didn't miss the chance and spanked Ela's, but to his heart content. She was lying on her front, and her but was handed to him. She didn't submit willingly as she resisted a few times, but she was completely a doll in John's hands. Let go of me. How shameless can you be? You challenged me and lost. I get my trophy by spanking your amazing butt. I knew it. The rumors about, they were all true. Whatever. Spank. The next day, Ela challenged John again. Spank. You aren't going to give up, are you? I'll defeat you, USC. Spank. No insults. It makes bad emotions. Let me go. Spank. I am not done yet. Spank. Gra. The next day. So, that's what kept you busy? Jelliner asked. Yep. Spank. Let go of him. Ela shouted. Goodness. That girl is another idiot. Jelliner exclaimed. I know, right? Spank. What are you, Maya? I am happy there is another person in this world who can take the S away from me. She is fun too. Spank. Shut up. Who are? I am Jelliner and my friends call me Joel. You're Ela, right? Despite that face paint you have, you are really pretty. She is nice indeed. Spank. No spanking today, John said after he defeated Ela and left her naked. Ela was overwhelmingly dejected to the fact that she was defeated once again, but when John said he is not spanking her and was about to leave made her feel a sudden emptiness. She gazed at his back while he was leaving, and the beast inside her howled with anger. You bastard! She shot up towards John with all the power she could muster and sneak attacked him. John was caught off guard, but the only reason that happened was that he couldn't detect any hostility from Ela, or rather, there was no hostility to begin with. She held on John's back and started punching him with anger while cursing at him. He tried to push her away, but she proved to be too clingy to push away. She was angry at John for a reason she wasn't aware of, and kept trying to hit him until he managed to push her away at the end. Too itchy for spanking? I hate you. Fine. John became in a good mood as he got that reaction from her. He put her on his shoulder and took her to the river again where there was a small waterfall and tossed her in the water. She screamed as she fell in the water, but she soon found herself being carried once again by John, who also jumped after her. He seemed to have got rid of his clothes too. As he carried her to the surface once again, she was in his embrace and the water was coming over them. A strange feeling came from the way she was handled by him, which made her want to fight him even more. With all the force in her arms, she pushed against him and started another round of fighting. More than fighting, it was wrestling as she was trying hard to control him with her physical strength, but he was just too large for her. My turn. John took control over the fight as they were still in swimming. There was no real motive for him to fight except that he was interested in Ela. The fight drifted them to the riverbank once again, and they laid next to each other to catch their breath. John came closer to Ela, who was lying on her front, and spank. Happy now? Ela didn't respond or move after she got her, but spanked. She herself wasn't sure how to feel about it, and just remained at her place. John shook his head and pulled Ela closer to him. She didn't resist and was simply pulled to his side. He kept his hand on her butt. You have a great butt. Do you like to? Shut up. Just by hearing his voice, her mood worsened once again and wanted to fight him, but he kept her locked on him by his arm. She used her legs to pull away and almost managed to before he moves on top of her and pins her arms to the ground. Her effort to pull away once again proved to be fruitless, and she kept glaring at John. Both of them were naked, and the moonlight made their soaked bodies shine with its luster. John's body was simply perfect. He wasn't as buff as Wolfer, but every muscle was defined as its own entity. The appearance of his body can't be called a human, as these muscles were not just trained, but the word cultivated may do them justice. Due to his training on the tyrant aura, his body was tyrannical in every aspect, and the general appearance was breathtaking. No homo. Ela took a very close look at all that, and took a heavy breath. Even a girl like her, who was always concerned with fighting and hunting rather than feminine stuff, had to take a halt and evaluate her priorities. Her eyes subconsciously looked down and, elephant trumpet. It was there, the mighty Little John. Unlike any lame woman who would freeze in front of Little John, Ela's instincts kicked in and she moved her legs fast and kicked John, not Little John, in his abdomen, sending him off her. Instead of running away, Ela pinned John down the same way he pinned her before. John smiled and observed Ela's body. Her red hair that was identical to his, her green eyes that went well with her red hair, her beautiful face that is only used for frowning and was hidden by their iconic 3 scars war paint, her athletic body that had a few scars here and there, her well-defined lady muscles, her soft boobs, and her legendary bubble butt. Ela was a beastly beauty that can only be conquered by another beast. John was amused. He quickly freed himself and held her arms, locking them behind her, and pulled her closer to him. A hand kept Ela in check, and another started to have its way all over her body. John lightly bit Ela nibble and started to fondle her butt. Her body shivered as she tried to resist, but part of her was amused by John's technique. John moved between her butt and her pussy, stimulating her to the extreme. Ela was inexperienced in compared to John and became very wet from just a few seconds of foreplay. John's possessive nature was full on as he saw how Ela's face reddened. He let her go, and she put no more resistance. He approached her face with his and started kissing her. She was intoxicated by him and responded in a lousy way, but John never expected much from the start. As they separated after the kiss, John started to fondle her lips with his thumb while gazing at her face. He was thinking of how to handle this beauty in his hand when suddenly, her awareness returned. She realized the situation she was in. She realized what it means. She had to stop it, but she didn't. Still, her strength was focused on her body again, and she bit John's finger that was fondling her lips. Ouch! John pulled his finger back, but Ela seemed to have taken a different direction in fighting John. Rather than pushing him, she was pulling him. She was already on top, and she turned to Little John. She heard how to handle penises from her friends before, but she still needs a few seconds to think of how to handle such a massive thing. John wanted payback and held her head, shoving his penis down her throat. Experiencing the first deep throat in the first attempt, Ela thought of it as the right way and went as far as she could. John was shocked to see how much she managed to take and started to guide her through the process with his hand. None could do that much in the first try, or any try in that matter. Ela's eyes teared up as she sucked more, but she wasn't giving up. Her instincts told her that the fight was still on, and she had to go as rough as possible on John. After a few minutes of the deep fellatio that John easily endured, he pulled her up to his level and clutched on her neck. She was even more aggressive than before and dug her nails into his arm and chest. Fine. You're taking it. John had on to aim his penis at her pussy and thrust in. Not giving her any chance to redeem herself, his punishments came heavy. For her first time, she had to endure someone as experienced as John going rough on her. Even though it was not easy, she loved it. Even though she almost collapsed when John went in, she endured it and took John's penis even deeper. Hey, careful. John felt concerned about her action but didn't go out. Ela didn't hear his warning and her mind almost turned blank. Her head went to the back and her back arched backward. She made a strange sound and drooled. That must have reached her brain, John exclaimed. Suddenly, Ela came back to life with her green eyes gleaming red. She hugged John's body and her beast aura seemed to be letting loose. John unleashed his tyrant aura to suppress her, and a weird round of sex started. Not sure how it can be done. John's penis has gone completely in Ela. John himself was wondering how. Girl, do you have an extra-dimensional space in there, or does it stretch in there? John asked seriously. Ela looked at him with a tired smile on her face. I am a werewolf. As she said so, her smile became meaner. She likes it rough then. I'll take your words for it. John was more amused with this girl and spanked her butt. This marked the start of the night that made the forest south to Whiterun rumble. Chapter 285, Redheads. Morning came and two redheads were sleeping atop each other in the middle of the forest. John woke up first, pushing Ela to the side. He stretched his body and looked around himself. The scene turned him speechless. Ela also woke up with a messy hair and a dizzy head. Her body was aching, but she managed to stand and looked around too. Realizing what happened around the place, her jaw dropped. The forest, it was obliterated. Not sure how or when, but many trees were broken and the ground was turned upside down, as if a storm struck or beasts fought in this place last night. Finding themselves in the center of the destruction, John and Ela wanted to believe that this had nothing to do with them, but all evidence pointed at them. If you two are worried about the scene, I would say that you should worry about the sounds the people heard last night, and the beasts that ran out of the forest. Yeah, that too. Alina and Jelinar appeared from behind some fallen tree. Ela covered her chest with her arms right when Alina and Jelinar appeared, and John rested his back casually. I am Jelinar from 2 days ago. This is Alina. Ela was still not comfortable with others seeing her in a humiliating position. So, care to explain? Alina asked. John smiled wryly and pointed at Ela. She likes it rough, redhead, you know? His reply was shameless and Ela glared at him. Well, we have our own redhead, so we are used to his destruction. But two redheads, wait. How did she survive a rough night with you? Joel asked. She is a werewolf. Hey. Ela was upset at John saying that she is a werewolf out loud. Aha. A werbeast like Nefertiti. I guess that makes her the one you go all S on. We survived. Joel and Alina fist bumped. The two had a normal attitude towards werewolf as they have experienced much already. Ela looked at them curiously. Who are they? My fiancés. And you seem pretty much comfortable cheating on them with me. Wait, 2 of them. Ela noticed the absurdity and questioned what she heard. You should know the answer already. Joel pointed at Little John. Ela just looked away. So, why did you come? John asked. It is because 2 redheads wrecked the forest all night and made a mess out of the ecosystem. The wolves, bears, and almost any living animal started to flee from the forest last night. They would have attacked the farms outside the forest if not for Nefertiti handling things. To Alina's brief report, John and Ela became pale. We also went to aid a village called Riverwood. Animals were making a ruckus there too. Impossible. Riverwood is too far. John and Ela refuted. Alina, have we forgot to mention that the earth was shaking? Yes, we forgot. No, we're kidding about that part. John never thought that having sex in the wilds would cause so much ruckus. Ela too was terrified with what happened. Okay, next time we are going to an isolated area. Next time? Ela seemed baffled. Any objections? John held Ela from her nape and pulled her closer to him. She only glared back at him with her eyes gleaming sharply as if she is going to eat his liver. Thought so. John released her and stood up. As he stood, clothes appeared on his body right away. Ela was still displeased for some reason. She didn't hate the affair she had with John and was rather very satisfied. Her only displeasure was because of how weak she was compared to a magic caster like John. Even though his body was filled with scratches caused by her nails, it was healed when he slept and his body was perfectly clean. She also couldn't continue the rough sex last night and had to give in to him, To her, she was utterly defeated. As other Nords, she is skeptical against magic, but the one who defeated her was not only a magic caster, but also a warrior that a few members of the circle can fight on his level. Also, his aura was not something anyone can withstand, and he seemed to have gone easy on her to not hurt her at all. She kept her eye on John for a while. Jellinar had to go and offer her a hand to stand up. How is that possible? Ela asked me on the way back to Whiterun. What is it? You are physically stronger than a werewolf. How can you do that? Is that why you were not accepting that I can beat each time? Don't think too much about it. Alina and I can beat you up the same way too. It is not that you are weak or anything. We are just absurd. Joel said with an eerie smile. She seemed to be asking for a round with Ela, who was rather mentally exhausted to care anyway. My stay in Whiterun was being stretched by me. There is no real work in Whiterun now. Nothing that my employees can't handle anyway. Also, summer in Whiterun was the best, and I was really into the mood to spend some time lazing around this town. Still, John got to make a living. My schedule today was not that full, so I went ahead and visited Jorvaskr, the home of the companions including Ela. My visit was brief, and I met Wolfer there too. He was having a talk with Farkas and I joined in. It seemed that he participated in taking care of the beasts that fled the forest after Ela and I laid waste to the place. I came up with some excuse for not joining the fun and found the person I came here for right away. Harbinger Codlack Whitemane. He is an old dignified man and someone all Skyrim respects. One of the reasons I came for his advice. He received me with a wide smile and friendly attitude too. I started talking to him about the current disputes in Skyrim and how the companions operate. Then I went to the main point. We in Winterhold are building a new settlement. As most of the hold is frozen wastelands, and we were looking to expand our area of activity, a certain location caught our attention. I paused to look at the man, then whispered the location to him. As soon as I said the word, Codlack Whitemane and the rest of the senior companions around him froze and looked at me. No one has ever attempted to do that. No one even thought about it, Harbinger Codlack said. But why come to us? Not everyone will accept the idea right away. A tragic event that no one ever attempted to fix. There is too many dead around Winterhold, and this place is a natural stronghold. So still doesn't explain why come to us. The thing I am working on is not the same as the past, and not even on the location itself. I am adding the word Neo before its name too. I see. Why the word Neo? It is a combination of new and revived. The Dark Elves also used it when they rebuilt the city of Vivec. It is now Neo Vivec. I see. And you want us to advertise for it. I know it is not what the companions do, but it won't be much different. You will be doing what you people do best, which is helping the people of Skyrim, and this time find a good home and also opportunities. I am not saying walk around and distribute flyers. You can just visit the place and share your opinion about it. The companions were formed by Iskramor to do a certain task, and that's kinda how it was supposed to happen. Now, my actions will make a ruckus. Some people with bad intentions will try to stop me, and I need some popularity. That's all. You do raise many good points, and you know what you are after. However, I am not sure how to reply to you about this. I am not the leader of the companions. No one is, so I will leave the choice to the ones who want to see the project you're on. But there will be dissections first with the elders. I hope you give us time to reply. Very well, thank you for your time. The meeting went good. The current big project I am working on is going swiftly, and it is a good excuse to drag Ela with me to Winterhold. Win-win. Chapter 286, An Interesting Visitor. The response of the companions was favorable to my suggestion. I even promised them the sponsorship of the Dare Armory and the Dare Pharmacy, my company's gear and potion factories. The companions have Skyforge and Irland Greymane, of course, but that can't cover the whole ranks of the companions. Unlike the game, the companions, in reality, are a large band of warriors that their number rival Skyrim's official army. They also have minor outposts other than their main headquarters, Jorvaskr. They exist in every hold except Winterhold, so my request was not that unreasonable. They were coming one day anyway. In regards to that matter, I was not really worried, but my concern was to my reputation that was being tarnished by most of my competitors around Skyrim. I have Erikr in Solitude, Blackbriar in Rift Inn, Shattershield in Windhelm, and Silverblood in Markarth. 2 Stormcloak supporters and 2 Empire supporters. Also, the Jarls of Falkreath and Dawnstar are not fond of me. Other than that, Mordhal and Whiterun are friendly to me. That's why I am now visiting Jarl Balgruuf the Greater in Dragon's Reach with Sviti and Alina. Sviti was invited and Alina is my +1 in all official occasions. The Jarl was very friendly to me. He even suggested that I should take a bigger building for my company's outpost. To the 2 of us who are publicly making a neutral stand in the conflict yet to come, we had to stick together. I am sure that many assassins have attempted to make a move on his head, as there are ones who attempted on mine. He had Irileth and I had Jelinar, who are both 2 badass dark elven assassins. I tried to search with my scan around the castle that was much bigger and different than what I know from the game, but I found that the Jarl's mage was doing a good job in sealing stuff. Well, everything will have its time then. As the meeting with the Jarl ended, I rushed back to the inn. There were many Imperial spies in the castle alone, and I hoped that they don't do something while I was busy with the Jarl, but it seems that Wulfr's presence took care of everything. As I finished that one last matter with the Jarl, I can now say that I finished all my business in Whiterun. I just had to establish the new outpost and set John Battleborn there. I also left the 9 agents of Team Zero at Whiterun to help John Battleborn and make sure that nothing harms the relationship between the Greymanes and the Battleborns. I informed him with my plan regarding that, and he was fully on board. Even Alfina got hired in the outpost as his assistant. On the 8th of Hoothfire, September, we headed back to Winterhold. We arrived at the 13th of Hoothfire to Winterhold. The place was busy as usual, and there was even a large crowd. Today is one of 4 days each year when the college opens its doors for new students, after all, so it was quite hectic. People come from all over Tamriel to study magic away from politics and feuds. That was one of the college's qualities. But it also meant that the town's security will be dealing with a lot of haughty people from High Rock and naughty people from elsewhere. But I was going to deal with something more troublesome than any of that. It all started when I returned home. Jonrad and Hilda have left to the clan's ground and left a message saying that they want me to come and spend some time with the family. I am free until the middle of Frostfall, October, as John Battleborn arranged his wedding to be on Frostfall. The troublesome thing that I found was a few notes from Nurina. The first said, "Run," and the second said, "Help." Not sure what was happening, I took Alina and Joel with me. And here where I met her. God please no. That was what I uttered out loud subconsciously. She was sitting there while Nurina was pouring her some tea. Nurina seemed a bit pale, but her face turned rosy when she saw me. "Oh, your hulkling son is here. Come, brat." As the woman who was sitting in front of Nurina said so, Alina and Joel were about to lash at her, but I barely shut them up. "Grandmaster Alf, it is good to see you." Alf Fyr was here. Why on Nurn is she here? Alina almost fainted from shock when she heard me saying Grandmaster Alf, and Jelinar behaved herself instantly. In front of us was an absurd being who is a gender-bent clone for another being which is more absurd. "John, Alf here has a small favor for you to do her," Nurina said. "A favor for me? Ask away." "Good brat. I want you to find me an isolated mountain in this hold and build me a small place there." Alf said. "Isolated mountain? Build her a place? Okay, I know a good place. Are there any more details you want me to add?" "Like what?" "A good view to the Shrine of Azura, a windbreaker, a specific type of furniture?" "No, keep it small and simple." "May I ask for what reason do you want to stay in Winterhold, in particular?" "I can help. Studying. Something is going on and Lord Fyr wants me to stay a few years in this place to investigate," she said casually. "A few years. Investigate. That sounds like him." "Fine. I will start as soon as possible." I said so, but Nurina shouted at me. "Start now? Tiske, what a rude kid." Alf was displeased with Nurina. Hey, Alina, come here. Nurina called. Yes, what is it, master? Alina woke from her daze. Let's switch places. Nurina handed Alina the teapot and sat her beside Alf. I am going to spend some time with John. You two can bond together. She is my other apprentice, Alf. Oh, thank you, master. Alina was very pleased. John, let's go. Nurina dragged me out right away. We could hear Alina trying to suck up to Alf while grinning at me as if she got some sort of opportunity. The poor fool. Thank goodness that Nurina took me and ran. I can imagine Alf asking Alina to massage her feet. Now that would be something. As Nurina and I went far enough from her room, Nurina stopped and rested her back on a wall. That old crone, what brought her to me? Don't care, don't know, I said. A monster roaming around in your turf and you are not caring about it. A monster that I can do absolutely nothing about. Fair point. Listen, Alf has some preferences, so I will let you know to add to that place you're building her. Never thought you would care. I care when I don't want my master to keep coming to my place whenever she feels bored or not comfortable enough. Fair point. I also want you to investigate whatever she is after, she said. Come on, you're asking me? You know I won't be able to do anything about that. We are dealing with higher powers here, woman. KSK, how vexing. If you want to know, just ask her yourself. She won't bite you or whatever. Yes, she doesn't bite, but she may banish me to oblivion as a punishment. Wait, did we just leave Alina with someone who banishes people to oblivion as a punishment? I am sorry for your loss. Hey, not funny. Don't worry, now tell me, how did your vacation go? Fine, there is a lot to tell you. I started to report everything to Nurina while avoiding the matter regarding the skeleton key and the other things that one shouldn't tell to their parents. Still, the news about Katatosker's appearance in Rift Inn seemed to have reached her and I got my ear pinched. As I finally got freed, I returned to the company with Joel and located a good place for Alf on an isolated mountain south to the Shrine of Azura and sent some builder from Jonald's team to finish up the job. As I got that out of the table, I geared up and headed west to the place where an important project is needed to build. Chapter 287, Torig's Council, 1. Halfingar Hold, Solitude City, the Blue Palace. The mood in this time of year in the City of Solitude is always good. The cold wind of the Sea of Ghosts that blow through the city every year gets settled and the sun rises brightly. Still, something managed to make the mood a bit muddy in King Torig's hall. Can you just shut up? You come here all day ranting about this and that, and when someone actually does some really good job, you start throwing stones at him. What? Do you call depriving 1/9 of Skyrim a good job? A really good job at that? This is the kingdom we are talking about. Depriving? The man replied to all our fears and talked with sense. He fought for the whole hold on his own and liberated it. Why do you keep pushing all that on him, Eriker? Please, Bryling. The guy is hoarding money from God knows where. He is ruling in the stead of the Jarl with an iron fist, and no one is out there to oversee him. What kind of nonsense is that? Are you sure? Because all I see is you trying to deprive someone who is doing his job. He is a Thane just like you and me. No. His Thaneship is questioned due to the Jarl being in the dark all that time. The legality of his so-called Dare Dragon company is questioned. All his actions are questioned. And he is not a Thane like us. He is the Thane of Winterhold, the poorest hold in Skyrim. We are the Thanes of Halfingar, the capital and the most important hold in Skyrim. All I know is that you are jealous and vexed. You're vexed of him because he started that entertainment card game business that your gambling house is too high and mighty to adopt some measly card games called Gwent. You're vexed because all your efforts to trade with the College of Winterhold have gone to the gutter. You are vexed because of what happened in the tournament 2 years ago. And you're vexed because you see a big sum of money that you can't get your hands on. Outrageous. How does the thrive of an important hold in Skyrim vex me? All I am concerned about is that someone acting in Skyrim like a warlord and ruling the way he likes. You just called it a poor hold a while ago, and we are back at where we started again. Listen, the Jarlship is divided on 9 permanent and strong families in Skyrim. Right now, the family and the actions of Jarl Career are proving that both he and his family are in decline. Wait, are you about to suggest that John Dare and his family, adoptive family, the Firemans, are you suggesting that they take over the Jarlship of Winterhold? Isn't it the best course of action for the sake of Winterhold? Bryling, I warn you. Show me what you got, spineless fool. Thane Bryling and Thane Erikr of Solitude were shooting death glares at each other. Are you two done? Falk Firebeard, the steward of High King Torrig, spoke in a scolding tone and looked at the man seated at the throne. That was a good warm-up. I am sure that a Thane on the other side of Skyrim is the most important thing that should keep my Thanes busy. High King Torrig spoke sarcastically. Excuse me, my king. It is just Thane Erikr's attitude is really rude towards another man who is working hard for the sake of his hold. Thane Bryling spoke. Not his hold, excuse me, my king. Not his hold. That boy came from the gutter of Riften and took over by the power of his archwizard mother and his adoptive family. God knows if he is just a puppet for the Firemans to take over Winterhold somehow. Thane Erikr interrupted. I value both your opinions, Bryling, Erikr. You are the most active Thanes in my hold, and I thank you for your concern about my kingdom. But please, let me remind you that according to law, Jarl Career is the dominant lord of his hold, and my words to him, if not about a matter that is important to the whole Skyrim or to enforce the law, are nothing more than pieces of advice. After saying that Jarl Career is the dominant lord of his hold, the Thanes and even the High King himself felt a bad taste to it and laughed at it. Also, the Firemans are a hidden clan. By the ancient agreement with the Alessian Empire at the First Era, the clans that are willing to come under the Alessian doctrine and the imperial pantheon are to live among the populace, while the others who worship Daedra, ancestors, or the old Nordic gods are to live outside the populace. Falk Firebeard continued. But the Firemans are told to have lived in Winterhold before the collapse. Erikr insisted. There is no crime to worship the old Nordic gods in a non-official temple, even inside a city like Winterhold's current Temple of Kine. The Firemans worshipped the animal totem gods, the Nordic gods, and the imperial gods all at the same time. Bryling refuted. Also, someone like John Dare can't be a puppet. High King Torrig continued. I investigated him myself, and openly at that. The man is humble, lives in a house smaller than the Jarl's, and he did one hell of a score on Erikr that day. Come on, admit it. He deserves the name Dare. Argir, brother-in-law, don't you think so too? Ahem, yes, my king. John Dare is a good fighter and clever mage. His fame is reaching far and wide. Argir, who was standing beside Elisif, replied. The words of High King Torrig and Argir Swifthilt made Erikr's face turn red and Bryling smile brightly. Thane Bryling is always a supporter of hard-working, and she can be seen as one of the most honorable high-class people in Hafingar Hold. Putting aside John Dare and Winterhold aside, for the sake of 8, can we start the council? Lady Elisif the Fair, who was present the whole time, pleaded everyone around. As the queen herself was present, and she hates councils and appointments, the participants hurried up with their business. Falk Firebeard was standing beside High King Torrig and started to present the reports from Hafingar Hold first, and the council became busy solving the problems and putting new laws. High King Torrig was a peaceful young ruler who exiled in management and was talented in the arena, but he had an easygoing personality and a sense of humor, so the council passed very fast. The council also showed concern about Ulfric Stormcloak's recent messages to oppose and kick out the Empire from Skyrim, but High King Torrig knew how dangerous it was to make such a hasty, unstudied decision and kept stalling. He was actually considering doing so to lessen the imperial taxes and establish some new Nordic order that fits Solitude, but he kept reminding himself that Ulfric Stormcloak was trying to swallow the problem and put himself on top. He needed to be very careful. In regards to the matter, Jarl Idgrod Ravencrone has requested an assembly in Solitude. Falk Firebeard viewed a letter from Jarl Idgrod of Morthal, Jalmarch. Are we going to invite the whole troop? Erikr asked. Yes. Every Jarl and his thanes as well as the clans. Bryling said, I suppose that Jarl Idgrod is concerned about Ulfric Stormcloak. Let's make it small this time and invite the Jarls and the thanes. It will be like the horse market if the clans came here. High King Torg said. All the people around the hall nodded in agreements. Nordic politics is brash and chaotic and involves cursing and fighting, but it is honest. Fine. The next subject. Yes, my king. There are no messages from the Pale, Eastmarch, Falkreath, or the Rift. However, there are quite a few from Winterhold. Falk Firebeard said so. Oh, hold tight, Erikr. Complain when it all ends. High King Torg cracked a light joke and urged Falk Firebeard to continue. The first one is from the Dare Dragon Company's chief executive officer, the head director of the Dare Industries, and the Thane of Winterhold. Gods. Falk loves the big title. All the parties smiled wryly and thought of the same thing. What does John Dare have to say? Torg asked. He says, blessings of Akatosh upon thee, blah blah blah. I wish to notify the General Administrative Affairs Department of the Supreme Authority of Skyrim represented by High King Torg, and to inform His Eminence the Imperial Ambassador. I am sorry, do we have something like General Administrative Affairs Department? Falk read and came to a pause. It is you, Falk, my steward who handles the general affairs. Torg said. Oh, it sounds pretty appealing. Falk fell in love instantly with the new synonym of his job title. Just tell us what the letter says. Erikr had to be the mood breaker again. Oh, let's see. They are building a new town, Falk said, and kept reading the letter. Didn't he just build south to Winterhold? Whispering Town, I guess. A few months ago? Torg asked. Yes, my king. It was for the dark elven populace that overcrowded Winterhold. He gave them a town to mine and farm around. It is also close to the Shrine of Azura. Oh, good thinking. Falk, what information you have about this town? Falk. Torg asked Falk, but the latter seemed to have frozen while reading the rest of the letter. Falk, what is it? Only Bryling's voice woke him up. Falk Firebeard looked at High King Torg and came closer to whisper something. A matter important enough for Falk to whisper was surely no ordinary matter. Torg took the letter from Falk and read it while keeping the rest waiting. John Dare, you sly fox. High King Torg laughed loudly and brashly like a true Nord, which is different from his normal temperaments. He declared what was written, and an uproar followed. It said, Sarthal. Neo Sarthal. Chapter 288, Torg's Council, 2. Sarthal is the oldest city of men on Tamriel. The city of Iskramor, the first Atmaran king, and Azadal, the greatest known Atmaran enchanter. Before the Nords become Nords, they came from a continent in the far north known as Atmara. These people came after their continent was torn apart by war and conflict to make a new life in Tamriel. The Atamarans landed on Winterhold and established Sarthal, while maintaining a peaceful relationship with the locals of the land, the Famar, Snow Elves. Year after year, more Atmarans came from their old continent to Tamriel, which alerted the Snow Elves to the fast-growing numbers of the humans. Later, the Atmarans discovered a powerful artifact and tried to seal it in secrecy, but the Snow Elves found out and coveted it for themselves. That's when the Snow Elves sacked Sarthal and slaughtered all the Atmarans in the event known as the Night of Tears. The known survivors were Iskramor and his two sons Ingol and Ilver, who sailed back to Atmara and formed the Companions, as well as Azadal, who was in the heartlands of Tamriel studying magic from the Aelids, Wild Elves. The Companions followed Iskramor back to Tamriel and met with Azadal, then drove the Snow Elves to extinction in the event known as the Return. Later, Iskramor and his men established the first human empire and enslaved the elves to build the mighty city of Windhelm, and the Atmarans changed, becoming the Nords. This is one of the most known tales in Skyrim, and every child heard it at least a dozen times. Sarthal was always related to the tragedy of the Night of Tears, and it became clear evidence to how cruel, barbaric, and hateful the elves can be towards humans. Also, it showed how a small band of 500 Atmarans drove one of the most magically advanced civilizations to extinction. Now, after more than 4,500 years, someone rose up to revive the memory of Sarthal once again in a location not too far from the original one, calling it Neo-Sarthal. Rebuilding a new settlement is not something the factions in Skyrim need to concern themselves with, but Sarthal of all places. What kind of message was John Dare sending? He made it clear that he doesn't want to enter a conflict, and his only purpose was to revive Winterhold once again. Yet, this move will earn him the favor of all Nords, and his reputation that Eirikr worked so hard to tarnish will soar in one move. Nords love such actions, especially when it is related to reviving the tradition and vexing Outlanders. John may even become more popular than the Bear of Markarth, Ulfric Stormcloak, and even High King Torygg in one go. He will be seen as a Nord hero whose age is not 18 yet and achieved power in sword, magic, and voice, as well as authority, and having many beauties around him, including the favored daughter of Kyne's cult. It doesn't even end here. This message was also for the Thalmor. Sarthal was sacked by their brethren, the Snow Elves, and for it, they paid the ultimate price, not only dying out and being forgotten by history, but their fate was much worse. The beautiful Snow Elves were cursed by the dwarves to turn into degenerate blind beings, and were all turned to slaves. More to that, Thane John Dare said that he will allow the Thalmor to enter Winterhold to enforce the White Gold Concordat, but he won't be responsible for their safety, which was a naked threat. Rebuilding Sarthal to the west, where the Thalmor are supposed to be coming from, meant that he was already aiming his arrows at whoever comes. Thinking of it, Winterhold now was impossible to conquer from the sea, as the infamous Dare fleet was simply too mighty that it has the power to put the Imperial Navy to shame. Also, the west is now fortified by Neo-Sarthal, and the east is impossible to move an army on. The only road to Winterhold was the south, which was a narrow, long path that everyone knew how John Dare fortified it. Ha 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 ha. What a ballsy move. I am not even angry at all. High King Torygg praised. The report says that it will be a fortified settlement, and its main features will be a mine, a quarry, windmills, an expansion for the Dare industries, numerous advanced technology projects, and an outpost for the companions. Oh, he contacted them already. The Thanes present in the meeting showed different faces. Eirikr's face was black, and he talked to his attendant who was standing behind him. It seems that he couldn't spy on the news earlier, and it surprised him. What else is there, Falk? There are some papers regarding the logistics of building a new town, as well as some minor requests. Fine, fine. This meeting comes to a conclusion. Send the reports of Neo-Sarthal to Imperial Chartmaster and tell our couriers to deliver the invitations of the assembly that will be held on Evening Star, December. Now, clear the hall. Torygg ordered, and all the minor characters, as well as Elisif and most of the attendants, left the hall. There was only Torygg and Falk Firebeard, as well as Eirikr and Bryling. Now, Eirikr, did your eyes and ears bring us anything useful? Torygg asked. Yes, my king. In regards to that matter, it seems that the old holds excluding Winterhold and including Falkreath are going to be a problem at that rate. What about you, Bryling? I agree with Eirikr. Well, ain't this a surprise? And your suggestions are? We need to focus on Falkreath to not lose contact with Hammerfell, Cyrodiil, or Orsinium if we needed reinforcements or mercenaries, Thane Bryling said. I already reached out to someone in Falkreath from the Jarl's family, a potential ally. Eirikr said. Good, keep following that lead, Eirikr, and inform Falk with the details now. Falk, what about our eyes? Let's see. Falk Firebeard took some small cards from a secret pocket that were mostly reports of the spies of High King Torygg around Skyrim. In Rift Inn, some bizarre accidents happened. An infamous thief reappeared after 3 years of silence, a new breed of spiders was found, and a holy lady of Kyne appeared to punish an evil which that was posing as Riffin's orphanage headmistress. A holy lady of Kyne? That is unheard of. Maybe someone from her cult. Torygg thought. Let's shelve it for the time being. What else? John Dare was sighted in Whiterun. Falk Firebeard said. Do you realize that we uttered his name like 100 times in this meeting alone? It is as if we are living in some sort of novel written about him. Torig started flipping tables. Bear it with me, this is the last one, Falk replied. By Akatosh Sai, what did he do in Whiterun? He met with the Jarl and the companions and met with the Greymanes and the Battleborns. Probably, and because of his interference, the two big clans of Whiterun came on the same page, and there is a marriage happening between their children. Oh, Ulfric the Imperials are going to be mad, Torig said. For sure, Bryling confirmed. And here comes the dare part, Falk said. You are becoming his fan since that General Administration Affairs Department thingy, Torig mocked. Ahem, he fought with both the Stormfangs and the Penitus Oculatus. And that's the end of everything, Falk said. You were not joking just now, right? Torig snatched the last report from Falk. Goodness, that son of a... Was the Empire trying to prevent a chance to achieve peace in Skyrim? Are they mad? My king, I think they have weighted their gains and losses. Erikr spoke, but was interrupted. It seems the Empire is not trying to avoid a clash either. Are they mad? Bryling said. No, it is like what Erikr said. They weighted their gains and losses, but only after they realized that the conflict with Ulfric is inevitable, Torig said. Silence took over for a while before Torig speaks again. This ends today affairs. Do the tasks I gave you? Yes, my king. Erikr and Bryling headed out. What do you think, Sybil? Torig called. From a dark corner, a woman clad in long robes came out. Her eyes gleamed bright and her skin was very pale. Of what, my king? Winterhold. Nothing in particular. It won't cause a problem anytime soon. Actually, as long as John Dare is in Winterhold, it will make Ulfric think twice before doing something stupid. What about the Thalmor? Do you think they will react? Not so soon. They always keep waiting until they find a chance to detain their foes and make them fight each other. So as long as the Thane of Winterhold is careful, there won't be trouble. Exactly. Also, I visited Winterhold a week ago, and I think I found too many powerhouses there. Something that can even scare the old me. But he won't move against us, right? He won't. Also, if he did so, we still have leverage on him. That dark elf girl that follows him, we know of her history and can cause him quite the problem with the Thieves' Guild and the Dark Brotherhood, Sybil said. Let's no go that far. I hate to threaten a man's family. By your wish, there was that one last thing. Go on. Some of the vampires I have a relationship with around the area started to disappear lately. It wasn't any sort of titch hunt. It was a genocide. Who would do that? The High King was fully interested. My king, I am afraid that this is the most powerful hidden clan of them all. Chapter 289, Schemes in Dark Place. Out the Blue Palace, Thane Bryling and Thane Erikr went each on their way, followed by their attendants. Riding horses was not necessary for them as they lived in the manors just outside the palace, and Nords don't care about such appearances anyway. Thane Bryling kept walking down the streets of Solitude until she reached a certain dark alleyway. Only one of her attendants followed her, and the rest stood on watch. I see that you have come in time, Anya. Thane Bryling spoke. Yes, Thane Bryling. Excuse my lax attitude. I am still on recovery. Anya, a tall and beautiful dark elven woman, appeared from the shadow. You guys are really good. Your boss must be pleased to have you work for him. Of course, our boss values talent more than anything. I am sorry, but my ship is sailing home in an hour. Is there anything noteworthy I can carry to the boss? Bryling thought for a second and nodded. His name was mentioned a lot in today's council, which is not a good thing. The High King must be on the move too, and I doubt Erikr will leave your boss alone after the last few moves he made. Tell him to be careful. Of course, anything else? Just deliver John Dare my regards. Thane Bryling said and kept staring at Anya. And the boss also delivers his regards. Anya put her hand in her pocket and took out a card, then handed it to Bryling. Thane Bryling took the card and her eyes lit up. Ismir Wolfhearth, a champion rare card, power, 13, special effect. Kills the opponent's strongest card. It is a treasure. Look at the drawing and how detailed it is. Thane Bryling completely fell in love with the Gwent card sent to her by John. None would believe that the most prestigious and popular Thane in Solitude, Hafingar, would join hands with the Thane of Winterhold for a Gwent card. Of course, that was not completely the case. Thane Bryling has spent a lot of time evaluating John before accepting to meet the Team Zero contact. She fixed her attitude and looked at Anya again. One more thing, an assembly will be held here in Solitude. Tell John Dare that I will be looking forward to meeting him. On the other side of the main road, Thane Eriker was conversing with his attendant Mellorin. Mellorin is a high elf, which is strange in the eyes of many, as it is not usual for a haughty high elf to become an attendant of a Nord, especially if that high elf is a mage. As the two reached a dark alleyway, they proceeded through it and reached a certain door. The two entered without knocking and found a person waiting for them. Oh, Thane Eriker, what a pleasant surprise. If Kajiat knew you would be visiting, he would have prepared some liquor and moon sugar. A gray-furred Kajiat appeared in the room. Darzino, you slimy Kajiat, watch your mouth and don't act friendly. Eriker lashed at the Kajiat right away. Oh, all right. Kajiat knows you only come here when you have a bad day or want some new goods. That's why Kajiat suggested some liquor. Humph, that's not the time for whatever you want. Someone is messing with my business, and this time we need to do something. Oh, by any chance, is it the same guy as before? Yes, that orphan bastard John Dare. I see. Kajiat is interested too. It is proving to be a challenge indeed. How are your people doing in Winterhold? Eriker asked. Many Kajiat's people go to Winterhold, but not many returns. This one thinks John Dare is after their disappearance. There are other new ones who lurk in the shadow these days, really well trained and very decisive. Kajiat thinks they are the hidden hands and eyes of John Dare. Eriker pondered for a while and nodded. It makes sense that he started training his own agents. Still, he is growing fast and business can't afford someone like him who broke the balance. You need to get rid of him, devise a plan, and make it look like an accident. A plan is indeed being prepared. For a big fish like John Dare, we need to make it feel safe and make a slip. Luckily, he is having a series of successes lately, so that won't be hard. Kajiat will pull some strings to make a certain group of people put their eyes on him. Are you sure? You will not disappoint me again? Eriker asked. Hee, my furless friend, you don't need to worry this time. Those people I am speaking about are a spooky cult that makes the fur of Kajiat shiver. You just need to start thinking of what to do when John Dare is out of the picture. Eriker's lips curved into a twisted smile. Once he is out, yes, that is really amusing to think of. Once John Dare is out of the picture, everything he made in Winterhold will be undone. His company, his towns, all that he did. I will vent all the frustration he caused me on them. Fine. Kajiat doesn't need to hear your plans. Thane Eriker will give me a hard time when I sleep. Kajiat has a soft heart. Humph. Fool. Get done with that and proceed to the other business we have. How is the weapon shipments I asked you about? Oh, those things. An Argonian friend of mine will be smuggling some low-grade elven weapons from Black March. I reckon the Imperial Legion will buy those at a high price. Darzino said. That's the plan from the start. Find me after you've finished your mission. Good then. This one wishes you well. Darzino faked a slight bow when Eriker turned around. Once Eriker was not looking, Darzino threw a small paper roll to Mellorin. From the higher-ups, he whispered. Mellorin nodded and followed Eriker. Winterhold, a week later. John was standing in an empty stone room alone while reading a piece of paper. Good job, Anya. I never thought you would actually be able to establish good contact with Thane Bryling. It is all thanks to Captain Jelliner's advices. Thane Breiling is a proud Nord, and we had to approach her in a righteous way. The idea of giving her such a rare card was really heartbreaking, but my consolation that I don't play the Nordic deck. Anya replied to John. Hee hee. Yes, and here is your promised reward. John handed Anya a Gwent card. By Azura, this is St. Jube, a champion card, power. 10, special power. Weaken the monsters in the opposite deck. Amazing. This card is as powerful as the Omsavai cards. Yes. Only, Endural Nerevar and the Nerevarine cards are more powerful than them, especially when the god card in use is Azura. Damn. I must gather them no matter what. I will be going home now. Thanks, boss. Anya said and disappeared from her place. John, who was standing in the empty stone room alone, turned around and walked to a door. Once he opened it, the light of day entered through, and John saw the scene from the high building he was standing on. He was looking down on an empty field of snow and a large terrain of mountains and glaciers. His gaze moved down the building he was standing on and saw a large number of people walking around setting structures and moving large rocks. A large furnace was being stirred by a large mechanism to prevent the Roman cement in it from solidifying, and many tents of workers and builders. This was the project that would guarantee the safety of what John worked for all that time. Fort Neo Sarthal. Chapter 290, The Dilemma of Akira and Isolde. Winterhold Beach, Dare Dragon Mercenary Corps, Team 3 Boot Camp. Wake up, you worms. Get ready in 10 seconds. What are you waiting for? 8, 7, 6. Wake up. 2, 1. Training starts now. Go, go, go. Isolde. Bang. Ouch. What is the O? I am. Rise and shine, princess. Should I bring you breakfast? To the training yard. Double the push UPS. Wah. Right. I'll go. Isolde ran out of the recruits' barracks with barely opened eyes towards the training yard. It was her 7th day in the boot camp, but she still couldn't adapt to the harsh reality she was in yet. The drill sergeant was instructed by John to bully her and Akira whenever the chance arises, and he was brilliant at that. Isolde and Akira hated their lives day by day. Line up. With the order, all the recruits ran to position and lined in a split of a second. Isolde could see Akira standing at the front of the line. TSK. Traitor. Unlike Isolde, who couldn't adapt, Akira was actually adapting well. She can wake up whenever she hears the footsteps of the scary Red Guard drill sergeant and was a diligent recruit. Even the instructors, who were told to bully them, found it hard to bully Akira. Straight to the shore. North. Run. The training started with the usual warm-up, and the recruits started heading south. Isolde was bypassing the other recruits until she reached Akira. Traitor. If it is not Isolde, Akira tried to wake you up this morning, but you were dreaming of strange things. How embarrassing for you. Shut up. Do you find it funny? I almost had a heart attack. Akira stopped talking until the instructor passed them on his horse. Because of that demon, Akira is not surprised. You are really spoiled. Damn you. My body is not suitable for this kind of things. I need money to swim in, honey treats, the things I always dreamt of. Why am I being so miserable? Akira is not interested in Isolde's business. Akira suggests that you focus on breathing, or you won't survive the warm-up. Damn you, traitor. A warm-up is for us to be ready for the training, not another crazy survival. Suit yourself. Hey, Akira. Let's run away. We can do it, right? No, you don't remember what John said? If Akira and Isolde attempted to do anything naughty, he will send this crazy Jelliner after us. She scares Akira. Isolde. She scares Akira a lot. Her 2 eyes are miscolored, and she looks like a doll. Yeah, it is as if she can look into our souls. But that cat is the worst. She acts all cute, and then starts to bully us. Don't make Akira talk about the red-eyed woman and her griffin. Yes, the griffin is the worst. Akira and Isolde started remembering the week they spent with John and his friends. They were bullied to the extreme even though no one did so intentionally. They were simply too weak to withstand the presence of true powerhouses like John and his band. John may be able to suppress his presence to act normally around people, but the others are not as good as him. Jelinek can give people scary vibes because of her mental issues. Alina can make people feel fear around her. Nefertiti may not be a cat anymore, but she still acts like a spoiled one. Lochther was hatched by the high-quality power of Alina, which actually made him quite different than his original breed. Akira and Isolde had to spend 1 week with those 3 absurd beings whose power are transcending the mortal understanding. And don't forget Headmistress Nerina. Yes, Akira is very sad. After Nerina was told about the acts of Akira and Isolde, she became very depressed and refused to see them. The 2 girls, who normally wouldn't care about how wrong their actions were, started to feel bad about saddening the woman who raised them up. Anyway, if Akira wants to run away, Akira will strip naked and run into snow. No one can see Akira's glorious white fur in the white snow. Traitor. Neo Sarthal. I established a new office to manage my work from here. My old friend Svidal, who leads Team 3 and oversees the training of the new recruits, reported to me the states of Akira and Isolde. It seems that Isolde will be pulled from the training and enrolled in the management school as soon as her punishment is over. Nerina is still depressed about their mischievous actions and doesn't want to see them. Also, Grandmaster Alf Fyr has moved to her mountain after her cabin was built. She seemed to be happy with it and gave me a book as a reward. Some insights about conjuration. The precious idea of reshaping Atronax that I was so proud with became nothing worthy besides the insights in that book. I can now conjure many kinds of Daedra, from the pesky scamps and imps to the uncontrollable Daedroth from Cold Harbor. I tried to summon a winged twilight from the realm of the Daedric Prince Azura, but the creature attacked me right away. Winged twilights resemble harpies, but are made of azure scales rather than red feathers. There was also some new stuff I haven't learned from Nerina before and other stuff that I need Nerina to explain to me, but after she feels better. I'm not really in a hurry or anything. Also, a message arrived from the firemen's. Grandma Jenna was telling me that Hilda will give birth in Frostfall, October, so I need to be there. It paused a bit of a problem, but I will ask Nerina to teleport us there if possible. Knock, 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 and my door knocks. Come in. Siv opened the door and came in with some papers. She threw them on my desk rudely and took her breath. That's your homework. Thanks, you're fired. You can't fire me. I know all your secrets. Sorry, you are getting a raise. Thank you. Lady Alina left this morning to the Moonblade clan grounds. She took her griffin pet with her. Lochther is not a pet. He is dinner. Good to know. Also, the companions have arrived at Neo Sarthal and are paying their respect in front of the old city. They will be here once they tour the new town. Take a break and accompany them around. Good, finally. Is there a fiery maiden who is called Ela with them? The one who broke the legs of 7 molesters because of how little she is wearing. Yep, she is here. Good. My hand was getting itchy. Chapter 291. The Companions in Neo Sarthal. I am glad to meet you again this soon, Vilkas. Please take a seat. Thane John. We are thankful. Please call me John. Fine. We are thankful for letting us taking part in this opportunity. Winterhold seems to be a lot different than the wasteland we heard about. It is all thanks to the people and the hard workers. I am only here to motivate them with any means necessary. Well said. Vilkas of the Companions came to Neo Sarthal to show the Companions' support in rebuilding the ancient town. With him, there was his brother Farkas and Ela, as well as some companion whelps. But I hope we didn't come here for only show and publicity. We came for work, else we'll be heading back. Vilkas said, You don't need to worry. These are the jobs that we can't cover. I handed him a bundle of paper. Oh, that's a lot. Let's see. Trolls attacking the quarry. That sounds like Farkas. Investigate the disappearance of some citizens. Yep, that's for me. Running low on food and need a good hunter. You're in luck. Ela is the best. Guard some caravans, transport fast orders, collect furs, drive away the wild animals, chase trespassers. That will be the whelp's job. Vilkas started going through the papers. He is the smartest of the companion's new generation, so he was naturally the leader of this expedition. You're in luck, John. We can do all that, he said. So, how will be the prices? I silently took out another paper. A chart for every mission and its reward, rated with the difficulty and price. Smart. Let's see. The prices are indeed fair, Vilkas said, and nodded with satisfaction. Good. Do this for me, and there will be extras. The Dare Armory of my brother Wolfer is offering you some gifts on top of that. Wolfer is? Now I am excited. Farkas seemed to be happy about it. I heard he and Wolf are becoming friends. Everyone will be excited if they heard that Wolfer is making them armor. Wolfer may be young, but he is very famous among the blacksmiths in Skyrim right now. He was even invited to a blacksmithing tournament in Orsinium, the Orcish kingdom between the Reach and Cyrodiil. We will do these jobs as soon as possible then, Vilkas said. Please, don't rush it and be safe. Winterhold is an unfriendly land. I gave a last piece of advice before they set off. Ela never even talked to me. She kept looking away during the meeting. How cold of her. I shook my head and returned back to my work. Neosarthal was looking good. In the game, its location can be said to have taken location after the small mountain passage west to Winterhold and through the slope north to the Old City. The Old City was a natural fortress, but now it is a mass grave for the victims of the Night of Tears. As the one who is responsible for this hold, I made sure that the tomb stays sealed until the day it is necessary to be opened. Aside from the location, Neosarthal was protected from the north and south by mountains, and from the west by Winterhold town, which is also very fortified. Neosarthal's role is to protect the west and secure any fleeing worshippers of Talos who come running away from the Thalmor. I may have left the Thalmor with a threat, so they don't bother coming to Winterhold, but that is temporary. They may come one day for whatever reason they desire, and will cause trouble, and Neosarthal is there to prevent that. This, of course, doesn't mean that they are not acting already. Team Zero is working hard day and night to root out the Thalmor spies and prevent any Thalmor teams from infiltrating Winterhold's borders. Thankfully, the Moonblade clan is offering us a very good help, and my father-in-law, Sigurd Moonblade, is taking upon himself the role of putting the Thalmor to the blade. We managed to rescue a big number of Nords and invited them to Winterhold, which is now the best place for Dunmer and Nord refugees. With some social managing, the Dunmer and the Nord mix really well. In the end, we are building a massive defense wall with the stones from the quarry and the Roman cement. We are also installing magic cannons on the walls. The anti-air ballistas were fully designed too. Wolfer and Jorna are working on it right now by using the dwarven metals we brought from Solstheim. The Tesla towers, too, were installed on the wall with Magicka reactors inside them and primitive enemy identifying device, made by using the binary-coded enchantments. The wall will cover the west side, and I made an avalanche using the skeleton key to break down the foundations of some parts of the mountains and tighten the defenses even further. The plans were all laid down in front of me, and I nodded to myself happily. I hope I didn't miss out anything to the chance. As time passed, the companions started returning to me after they finished up their work. Vilkas came first after he finished his investigation. He found the lost citizens that seemed to have been working trying to escape to Dawnstar and sell some secrets to any faction they find. Farkas came after Vilkas with 7 troll heads. The whelps came after their jobs were complete. The last one was Ela. She came at sunset when the day's work was over. Seems like you have taken your time, I said as I was putting away everything on my desk on the shelves around. No, I was done before all of them. I just came last. Oh, playing hard to get, Ainsha? Hard to what? Her tone was blunt, as if she was not interested. Come on. It has been 2 weeks already. And? Okay, take your reward and screw off. Ela frowned at me. I am not your sow and you can order me around, she said and seemed a bit hostile. I know, knock it off. We had our thing once, but I don't like your kind. My kind? There are more John Dares out there, and I don't know about? I was shocked, utterly shocked. Yes, all of you lords, maybe you are a good fighter, but that doesn't make you different. We companions wake up every day knowing that we could die, and having to earn our life by clawing for every breath. I don't know how you cozy lords manage to drag yourselves out of bed every day. Why bother if you're not living? The words she said made me open my eyes wide open and ponder for a while. Why bother if I am not living? She was correct. I am not an adventure junkie like Ela who loves to live in the wild. I am a student of the arcane arts who caves in his room for months to study things that may all be worthless in the end. I looked at her with a smile. She is correct, but she is wrong about me. I have a fair share of adventures under my belt that can put her to shame, but I will not brag about it. Let's just show her. I'll show you something good. Before she could say no, I dragged her out of the room to the balcony. I then held her waist and cast teleport, my destination, for 1,000 meters above. Chapter 292, Mad Ideas, Winterhold, 4,000 meters above the sea level. Wawa. Woohoo. The world was witnessing the first recorded case of skydiving in the history of Tamriel performed by two redheads, Ela and I, John Dare. You crazy bastard. Don't leave me. What? Can't handle a little living? You bastard. We were not panicking. Ela was shocked, but we yelled to hear each other. You are crazy. Shut up and live. Enjoy it. I held her hands and helped her adjust her body in a skydiving position under me and tied us together with greed. I also protected our eyes with a spell. Our balance finally settled, and we started to freefall. The appearance of the world at sunset from above was purely magnificent. There were no clouds, but the air was freezing, but we endured it. You like it? You are mad. Thanks. No, I am cursing you. Ice brain. You are truly mad. I am called John Dare, for goodness sake. John mad. Nope, I'll stick with Dare. I couldn't see her face, but she was surely making a complicated face. You know how to get us down safe? She asked. What? Of course not. How can I? Well, wait a second. Not funny. You moved us up with magic, so you can move us back down, right? Well, in theory, if you teleport while moving, you will keep moving. We were still before we teleport, then we started to fall. If I teleported us to the ground right now, we will be turned into a meat paste as soon as we arrive. She was now scared. I can feel it. But I can fly with magic, so no problems anyway. Say that from the beginning, you dolt. Oh, why so serious? Have fun, girl. You may never experience this ever again. I don't want to. I mean, you may not to, because I may not be able to fly properly with magic, then fall and crush and die. What? Can't take a joke? I hate you. Hey, I just got a wild idea. Don't want to hear it. We can't just be the first couple who skydived in Tamriel. We can also be the first couple who had sex while skydiving in Tamriel. No way. Yes way. And we landed with a parachute made of greed. I could have just used levitation spell, but the falling force was too much to withstand with the lifting power of levitation. Still, that was great. It was really epic, as if gravity itself was helping us. For the sake of research, I researched it, and it actually happened. My source? Check your history from last night. Ela seemed to have had her fair share of living for one day. She passed out right when her feet touched the ground, even though she had strong orgasm midair. I took her into the Haven Ring and let her sleep. Damn, why does she like scratching my body so much? I had to heal myself after both times I've been with her because of how her habit of using her nails to dig into my skin when she reaches climax. In both times, we did something none have ever done before. Destroying a forest and skydiving. I just wonder what idea we may come up with next time. Anyway, no one saw us when we landed back at Neo Sarthal. It also made me think of how should I fortify the city from an aerial infiltration. I started using my head as fast as I could and decided to enchant a new device. As I jumped into the Haven Cube, I started looking around for my materials and gathered a big gem and many other tools. Let's see. A radar needs to be able to detect enemies. We have an hostiles identifying systemic enchantment in the Tesla Towers we hid on the fort wall. This enchantment required a weapon to work on, and that enemy's hostility must be directed to the personnel on the fort wall. It would be really complicated if I made one on all the entire city. My head started to work on the radar device I was trying to invent using magic. In the end, I managed to mix spells like Alarm, for hostility detection, and Soul Scry to not detect anything other than black souls on one gem, then connected it to a screen which is also connected to a magic frequency detection tower. The device will work, but I am really depressed. I wanted to catch spies too, but that needs a very complicated enchantment. I took another gem which was a flawless diamond. The size and the quality were both top-notch. It was something that I kept hidden away from the girls. A rare gem like that meant it can be enchanted way better than your common rubies. I put my heart and soul on it and started making an enchantment I was curious about. I used the binary-coded enchanting method to make this one. An enhancement to process the code into runes, and another to make the code evolve and calculate for itself. In order to not let it go haywire, I needed to seal its potential because it kept evolving in the wrong direction. I added that gem to a light screen that can read the binary data and tried to give orders to set up a certain system of processing information. I made many trial and errors and removed all the commands I gave once and twice as I could feel something was missing. I was trying to teach the enchantment how to curious, but it was rather misunderstanding me as if it was acting like an animal. Wait. I looked at the log of the soul gems I have and found what kind of a soul was that in the gem. A grand soul made of fusing many deer souls. Hold up a minute. Fusing souls needs the same type of soul to success, as we can't mix a lesser deer soul with a lesser wolf soul to make a common soul. We need it to be the same kind of creature. Can it be that the reason is the soul behavior? The soul behavior, a term that is not really fixed or used, and some think it is just a myth. The soul inside the gem dissolves to be a raw magical power, but what if that raw power still possesses some sort of awareness? Old soul gems are proved to not have soul behavior, but fresh ones show some kind of it. Then instead of using the enchantment with such a crappy soul of a deer, I can actually use a soul that seeks knowledge. Still, the only beings that seek knowledge are mortals. No, that's dangerous. I can't do that. I took it upon myself to not ever do such a thing again after the thing with Azura. Still, that took me to a dead end. There are no other beings that would be prone to seek knowledge like mortals, or so I thought. There is one type of beings that would do so, the Daedra. Or to be more specific, the Daedra of Hermias Mora, Daedric Prince of Forbidden Knowledge and Fate. And look who possessed 4 artifacts of Herma Mora in his storage. Me. My absent-mindedness took me in front of Space 51, where I keep all the dangerous stuff. The Skull of Corruption, the Staff of Shiagarath, the Fork of Horripilation, the Savior's Hide, the Skeleton Key, the Black Star, and my Sith Mask, Krylin. These are all the artifacts of great power that I have gathered from the places I went to. There are also some blueprints for my inventions as well as the books that Alf gave to me, and lastly, the Black Books, which are the artifacts of Herma Mora I am after. I looked at the 4 black books and I didn't really know which is which, but I had to pick one randomly. Nefertiti. Yes, Human. Come to my location. I told her to come, and she teleported to my place using the Shadow Realm. What is it? She transformed into her human form when she felt that there is a serious matter. Watch over me. I am doing something crazy. Should I bring Jelinar? No, she must be busy with her spiders. Fine. Nefertiti backed away and sat on the ground. I sighed and picked a black book randomly. The black book had an eerie sensation with its black outer texture that felt a bit moisty and tingling. On it, there was drawing of a grotesque slug being with a lot of eyes, tentacles, and pincers, as if a being of the Lovecraftian fantasies is coming to life. Here goes nothing. I opened the book and it led me to the first page. There was written, Untold Legends. As the great ships of men crawled the waves to their destinies, there were, after long years, a number of tales lost in the mists of morning. Even after the forgetting, though, wisps of story find ways to receptive ears, as even the deepest of secrets never truly dies. When fires burn and the night grows soft in, green tentacles shot out of the book and bound my arms, and before I finished reading the first page, I didn't resist, but I was not feeling well. The tentacles reached around my body and my head, and finally, my consciousness started to fade. Chapter 293, Black Book, Untold Legends. So, another seeker after knowledge enters my realm. I am Hermias Mora, Prince of Fate and Lord of Secrets. This is Apocrypha, where all knowledge is hoarded. Perhaps you will prove clever enough to uncover the secrets hidden here. If so, welcome. Perhaps you are a fool or a coward. If so, you are in peril. Read your book again and escape before Apocrypha claims you forever. The ringing deep voice of Hermias Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge and Fate, rang deep within John's very soul. His words made a powerful warrior like John shiver, but he was not worried. He grasped on the black book that was still in his hand and put it in his backpack. John wasn't worried about going in Apocrypha, as getting out was easy. The only problem here is how he will suppress his lust for knowledge. John is a bookworm, and Apocrypha is the grandest library of them all. A whole world is a library, and he just walked into it all by himself. The place around him would give the sanest minds the scare of their lifetime, but John anticipated its appearance and held tight. It was a long corridor that went down from where John stood. Around him, the walls were made of decaying brown books, and the ground was made of papers and notes. The words around them made John feel like he is tempted to read, but he knew they were just some unreadable gibberish. The real bizarre thing was the ceiling that was open to the sky that looked like a green swamp with clouds of green tentacles coming down from it. The appearance was simply terrifying. John still could manage. As he walked down the corridor, he spotted down some green smoke that looked a bit eerie. John knew it was harmless, but once he walked through it, his skin itched and felt very uncomfortable. Poisonous acidic gas. John passed through it naturally and kept walking down the path that went left and right with no deviations. He found a platform with some books and soul gems on it. The books were rare ones that were hardly found on Tamriel, so John made sure to collect them. He came to Apocrypha prepared after all, and he put all these books in his backpack. He walked again until he reached an altar. On it, there was a book with a lot of runes moving around on it. That was the book that would lead him to Chapter 2. Apocrypha is the realm of Hermias Mora, a large world made of a grand sea of dark green ink and islands known as the books. Each book was made of chapters and can be accessed from Tamriel through a black book. Right now, he was accessing Chapter 2 of this book, Untold Legends. The scene around him changed, and he found himself in front of another altar that would lead back to Chapter 1. John turned around and survived the place, detecting some beings around. He had to identify the location he was in first. Chapter 2 was a large high platform on the sea of ink with not many walls but made a few bridges and such. He could only try to use magic and levitate to gain himself a more battleground. As John advanced, the first being he met was a lurker. Lurkers are large Daedric creatures that come from the murky waters of Hermias Mora's realm of Apocrypha. They appear as fish-like giant humanoids who serve their prince by guarding forbidden knowledge. Lurkers use their long legs for stomping attacks and can attack from afar by spewing tentacles from their mouths. As John started to battle the large creature, he was moving as fast as he could and used many kinds of spells to attack the lurker. He summoned many bone men from the Soul Cairn and some frost atranax to hold the lurker in place, but the beast was really strong. John was shot with tentacles and felt a great deal of pain, but in the end, he spammed a ton fireballs on the lurker, turning it to pieces. John was really annoyed with the poisonous, acidic ink of the tentacles and had to heal himself for some time. He then proceeded and found the altar with the book to Chapter 3. Chapter 3 was a single closed room where he had to face a seeker. Seekers are grotesque, tentacled Daedra with many hands and tentacles on their bodies, as if they came out of a Lovecraftian novel. They are servants of Hermias Mora, usually guarding tomes of forbidden knowledge and reading them if they were idle. Seekers have the power to banish prey with sound attacks. They are rarely seen outside the Apocrypha. The battle against a Seeker was much better than a Lurker. Seekers are not that strong anyway, and John managed to defeat the creature and trap its soul as a prize. He also found a spell tome to conjure those dirty things in Tamriel. From that point onward, John managed to get how things work around Apocrypha and how to battle the creatures of this Lovecraftian world. He killed many Seekers and took their souls after he advanced to Chapter 4. In the end, he reached a large altar where a larger version of the Black Book waited for him to come. That was the main reward of all Black Books. John opened it and managed to read some words. He can have the choice to pick one of 3 gifts Hermias Mora can bestow on him. The first was Black Market, a spell to conjure a Draymore, a merchant from Oblivion that would sell and buy various stuff, a really good way for John to get rare materials. The second was Secret Servant, which would summon a Draymore, a butler, to serve John for a certain amount of time. The third reward was Bardic Knowledge, which would summon a spectral drum to play around John and buff his stamina. Or so he thought. The first 2 were the same as the game, but the third, it was a bit different. It said that as long as the caster can understand any instrument, he or she can make a spectral version of that instrument to play itself and make certain buffs or debuffs depending on the tone it plays. As John read that, his smile grew silly. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.